Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving ESPN 1025. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian Safar is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
All right, let's get right to it. So, the Traylon Burks drama. I mean, I got to tell you, I woke up this morning, turned on Robbie and Rex Road. What were they talking about?
Traylon Burks?
The Traylon Burks drama. And this has become so G14 classified. It's like any talk about Traylon Burks. It's weird. It's this weird dichotomy. Help me understand this, right? We have the Albert Brewer report that we talked about yesterday on the show, that he at one point weighed 240 pounds at Arkansas, that even though he was 225 at the combine, 224 on his pro day, that when he went to go do private workouts for teams, he was 230 for some of those teams. We've got what we've seen on the practice field about him pulling himself out of some drills and not finishing all the drills and not making it through the rookie camps. And I say we, obviously you and I have not participated in this, but he's been given the opportunity to use allergies as an excuse, and they haven't. He's been given the opportunity to use asthma as an excuse, and he hasn't. And the Titans haven't made any excuses. They just won't talk about it. And so Gentry asked us. I'm going to give Gentry some credit because Gentry every now and then writes a stinker of a column. This, I think, actually was a pretty good column. And the headline of the column in the Tennessee, and that the Titans have too much writing on Traylon Burks to not be concerned. And Gentry writes this, quote, Burks, by the way, could have cleared this up with reporters on Wednesday when he was asked about his conditioning and needing an inhaler at one point, but he didn't. Instead, Gentry writes, he basically said nothing. He sure didn't say what I'd have most liked to hear, at least, which would have been a firm and confident rebuttal, insisting that nothing will come of any of this, that he's fine and raring to go. Burks didn't do that. He never denied his setbacks, mind you, and he just didn't specify what they were. He said, quote, I don't really worry about them at all, honestly. I don't know if he actually means honestly when he says honestly, but he, I guess, says that. Gentry continues, but at the same time, the topic was so weighty that he dared not lift it alone. He kept referring questions about his health issues, whatever they might be, to Mike Vrabel, who we all know won't discuss them either. Gentry writes, why not just say Burks needs to get in shape? And that's where I want to start with this. What's up with the secrecy, right? Like, what's the big deal? And I would say, I asked this question. Is it such a bad thing that he's out of shape? Yes. But why are they so afraid to actively say that he's out of shape? Why is it such a secret? Why is it so, oh, yeah. And then everybody here, it's like if I sit here and I'm telling you, like, everything that's been said about Traylon Burks, including what his college coach said, which you got to give Gentry credit in this column because he went back to when he asked Sam Pittman about Burks, or he didn't ask Pittman, but at SEC Media Days last year, where Burks was the star player at Arkansas, Sam Pittman, the coach, was asked about him, and this is what he said, quote, and good job by Gentry to find this in this Tennessean column, quote, what he needed to do to become a standout, an unbelievable player is get in better shape. And we just talked to him about that, Pittman said. Just going out there and hunting them hogs wasn't really getting him in the greatest shape in the world. He had to do more than that. So the college coach was telling you last year, yeah, his biggest problem was that he was getting out of shape. Vrabel asked about him not being at finishing the rookie mini camp practice, talked about guys think that they can replicate what we do here with their trainers. Albert Breer, 2 separate occasions, Monday Morning Quarterback, wrote about it. And yet, because the Titans won't just come out and say, yeah, he's out of shape. We got him working with Frank, the strength coach. We got him working with Todd, the trainer. And we are confident that Traylon will be able to work out and be ready to go for the start of the season. And we're really, instead of saying that, they've turned it into this giant secrecy where, I mean, now it's like we're going to have somebody walking around following Traylon Burks. Like, did he really just eat that donut? I don't know. Why? Why is it such a secret? And not only that, why is it such a secret? But I'm going to tell you why I think it's such a secret. Would you like to go first, or would you like to hear what I think about why I think it's such a secret?
Why do you think it's such a big secret?
Because they've sucked at drafting. That's why it's such a secret.
Or is it a secret because they just want it to be a secret? Because everything is a secret. Even if it doesn't have to be a secret, everything is a secret.
I thought about that
Who was calling defensive plays in 2020?
Oh, that was a secret. That was a secret.
Why did it need to be?
Well, and I'll give the coach credit because he realized after it blew up in his face that was a bad idea. And maybe this is the same thing. I mean, right now, I don't want to use the term fat shaming, but that is what's happening right now. I mean, everybody's looking at Treylon Burks. Everything that he does, every video that these reporters post about, here's Treylon Burks going for a catch right here. Be honest with me. Do you look at it and say, does he look thick? Does he look small? Does he look?
It's the first thing I look for. When I went on the field yesterday, it was the first thing I looked for was, how does Treylon Burks look?
It was funny. Byard was asked about his initial impressions of Treylon Burks yesterday. Have you heard this yet?
Yes.
Do you remember what he said?
Byard yesterday?
Yeah. His initial impressions of Treylon Burks.
Big guy.
He
is a big guy.
Roger, impressions of Treylon so far, Kevin?
Like I said, I mean, I only been out here one day, but I mean, he's big. Looks like a big target. Excited to see, how the offense is going to use him in different ways. I know he's going to be, a deep threat guy. He's going to be working underneath, working over the middle.
It's crazy, right? Okay. So, let's address it. And they won't address it. And I'm convinced it's because they've done such a poor job of drafting. If they came out today, he's not going to come out and say he's out of shape. Very few players come out and say, now they'll say after they get into shape, they'll say, the problem was when I was a rookie was I came in out of shape.
Like Byard.
But I've learned my lesson. But they're not going to go up to the podium and say, I think the problem is that I like eating candy bars too much and don't run on the treadmill enough. Next question. I don't think you're going to see that. Charles Barkley is not on this team. So I think the Titans are so afraid of saying personally that they drafted a guy who's out of shape, who has feels like his proponent to being out of shape, because it doesn't sound like this is the first time this has happened to him. And I think the Titans are afraid of what people will say and what the reaction will be post Isaiah Wilson if the guy that they traded A.J. Brown for is out of shape. Remember what Trevor Maddich said when I asked him about Treylon Burks not being able to get through his first rookie mini camp practice? Trevor said he was disgusted. He was disgusted by it. I mean, that's a really strong word by a guy who used to play. So, I mean, I look at this and I think to myself, that's why it's such a secret. The Titans are so afraid to admit that they messed up. In The Last Dance, Rod Thorne was the general manager of the Chicago Bulls who drafted Michael Jordan. And the old saying is Kevin Lockery, who was the coach at the time, that he called Thorne the day after the first practice with Michael Jordan on the Bulls and said, "You did not mess this pick up." And I think there's a fear that if it comes out that Treylon Burks is out of shape, the Titans are in a tough spot because internally they have to be on Burks' rear end to make sure he gets the message and realizes, no, this is serious. You have to get in shape because you have to play wide receiver against the Giants. But they don't outwardly want to look like they took a guy who's out of shape because they took a guy who was too fat and too lazy a couple years ago. And I think that if it were to come out right now that Burks was out of shape, if Vrabel were to get up there and say, yeah, we thought Treylon was 224 when we saw him at his pro day. He stepped on the scale and he was 238, and we can't get him through the drills all the time, and he's winded a lot, and so we're going to have him spend extra time with Frank on the treadmill, and we're going to have him do this and have him do that. One, to your point, they're letting out a secret, and they never let out secrets. But number two, I think people would be sitting here saying, how could you trade A.J. Brown a year and a half, 2 years, after you drafted Isaiah Wilson? How could you trade A.J. Brown to get the sixth best receiver in the class and the guy's not even in shape? And again, rightly or wrongly, of whether or not people like me would be screaming about that. that is what the reaction would be.
And the reaction could even go as far as to say, okay, he's out of shape. What are you going to do to avoid that in the future? What are you going to do in the next month and a half before training camp, the next 3 months before you play the Giants, to make sure that he gets in shape? Because I think that's the real question here. Because, the secret's going to get out eventually. We all have eyes. We can all see Treylon Burks struggling. We can all see Treylon Burks and his size, how big he is. It's not a secret. I mean, you can talk about allergies and asthma all you want, but at the end of the day, we all have eyes, and we can all see what's going on
And they're
here.
not doing that.
So the question, but they can at least say, yeah, you know what? We're going to try to get him down to this weight. This is the program he's on.
Sure.
We're confident that he'll be ready for training camp. We're confident that he's going to be who we need him to be against the Giants on September 11th. But they're not doing any of that. And I think they're only doing themselves and Treylon Burks a disservice.
So that's how I want to start. Again, what's up with the secrecy here on Burks? And by the way, is it not obvious that it's not asthma? And is it not obvious that it's not allergies? Like, can we all say that? Like, we can all say it's not that.
I don't know if he has asthma. I don't know if he has allergies.
But it's
But
not
there's
that.
a bigger problem here.
Kaharski said yesterday when they were on the show, Kaharski was like, you had 3 weeks to figure out the allergies. And I mean, it's kind of true. Now, I will say this. In high school, I still have really bad allergies. In high school, here's another thing that's crazy. I had really bad allergies, and especially in the springtime. And I used to play baseball. Mm-hmm. And I used to get so nervous that my allergies were going to keep me from playing. And for some reason, I think it's like a mental thing that I never, even if I had a whole day where my allergies were dragging me down, that when I was playing baseball, I never had any problems with my allergies. I think it's like one of those things where your mind
You just don't think about it
cuts
anymore.
it out
Yeah.
because you're focused on something else. But anywho, that's what we're starting on. And this is my theory. I think the Titans are aware of their draft record. I think they are aware of the risk that they took when they traded A.J. Brown, got the pick for Treylon Burks, didn't take Trevor Penning the tackle, took the last receiver available, took Treylon Burks in the first round. I still think they think he's a good player. I still think they believe in him. I'm not saying they don't, but I think the reason that they will not tell you anything about his size or anything about what shape he's in is because they're embarrassed if they get this one wrong. Because they're embarrassed to put this on the wrong foot, and they're embarrassed that if that happens, that everybody will get mad and upset and look at the fact that they couldn't draft last year, or 2 years ago with Isaiah Wilson, and everybody will start making that connection again. I mean, look, I asked Mike Vrabel point blank 2 years ago when Isaiah Wilson got the DUI. I was like, we don't know this guy at all. Like we would say no Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry or, I mean, is he a good kid? Oh, yeah, he's a good kid. He's this, he's that. Okay, yeah, well, we learned. So, and I think that they know that their currency as far as those kind of things, right now, they don't have a lot of credit. So I think they're worried about that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Here's the other side of it. Externally, they're not saying anything. Nobody's saying anything. G14 classified. What do you think they think internally? We'll get to that next. Caroline, tell us about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Now, if you haven't started with Caesars yet, first of all, what are you waiting for? Because they have a really great offer for you waiting at the Caesars Sportsbook app. Your first bet is risk-free, up to $1,100. So download the app and use the promo code RADIOCZR. That's one word, promo code RADIOCZR, and then place your first bet. And if you win, then good for you. But if not, you'll get your stake back as a free bet. Now, NBA playoffs tonight. Caesars Sportsbook has got a nice little boost for you going on. Andrew Wiggins over 14.5 points. Pete Alonso home run tonight and a Connor McDavid goal all tonight at plus 1,100 odds. I think it's worth sprinkling at least a little bit of money on it because I know I will and I think you should too. But that's my take. Just do it with Caesars Sportsbook app. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying credit. Wager return only if wager settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
While hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Super Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Upgrade your diamond studs this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, you can do it now at Genesis Diamonds. It's our best financing of the year. Not just on diamond studs, but rings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So those 2-carat studs, just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry also included in this spectacular offer. Only available until June 18th and only at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations: Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
The body is a machine by itself. Given the right ingredients, during the right situation, some things can be healed naturally.
Football legend Emmitt Smith learned that pain pills and surgeries are only Band-Aids for chronic joint pain. A smarter, longer-lasting solution? Natural biologic treatments from QC Kinetics.
With QC Kinetics, it's that way. It's that natural process of allowing my body to actually heal itself.
With no downtime and no drugs, QC Kinetics regenerative pain treatments can repair and restore damaged tissue, bringing lasting pain relief in your knees, shoulders, hips, and lower back.
What I like about working with QC Kinetics is the natural aspect of it. The body has a way of reconnecting itself and re-healing itself.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
If you tried it other ways, there's a new method.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
How normal is it especially for a rookie, to come in this time of year and be a little behind in conditioning? Obviously, they hadn't played in a while.
Well, you just understand what the process that they go through as far as, getting ready for everything that they're training for as a speed-based measurement at the combine, short distance, explosion, and then we're asking them to come here and start performing some football that's done over the course of time that could be 6 or 8 seconds long. They go on visits, they go through a draft process, they go to a rookie premiere, which are all things that we know. And so we have to be a part of the solution to getting them ready to play football. And I think that's what we're doing here, and we'll continue to do it. It's why we keep them, 2 extra weeks after our veterans leave from veteran minicamp, and those guys can stay and really start to make some strides in conditioning.
Okay, so that was actually an interesting answer there from Vrabel. We laughed about it yesterday, but it was interesting as far as the Burks thing is concerned, because he basically lined out for you that these guys aren't training for football. That when it comes to the combine, when it comes to the pro days, when it comes to all of those different elements in the draft process, that they're not training for that. Now, I think that's total bullcrap, because when was the combine? 3 months ago?
February, yeah.
You know what's next after the combine. You know what's next after the pro day. You know what that process is. As a player, you have an agent, and the agent is going to tell you, all right, now that stuff's out of the way, let's get ready for you to play football. But apparently not. So Vrabel's point there was, you go combine, then you come in here, then you do the mini camps and things like that. and you got your rookie premieres, and so you're going to fly out to Los Angeles for a day to take pictures. Then you come back, and you're trying to learn in the meeting rooms, and we know the whole process for all the rookies and everything else. And then we get a couple extra weeks after all the other guys go home to get you ready, and then you go away for a month, and then you come back. And so Vrabel's answer to Gentry, outside of the hilarious sigh of not wanting to answer that question, Vrabel's response to that is basically, nothing to see here. It'll be fine. We know the process. We know what it's like. We know this. We know that. And somebody did send me an article from Paul Kaharski 3 years ago that after A.J. Brown hurt his hamstrings in voluntary workouts, that A.J. didn't really do much until training camp where he hurt his hamstring again. And then he didn't do much until they were scrimmaging and playing the Patriots. And then A.J. went out in the first game and had, I think, 100 yards against Cleveland. So, I mean, I guess it's all possible, but Vrabel's answer right there is nothing to see here. Question for everybody. Ian, Caroline, what do you think internally? You think internally the Titans think nothing to see here. He'll get with the strength coach. We'll get him on a program. He'll eat nothing but tuna from the can. He'll be fine and will be fine. And week 1 against the Giants, he'll be at wide receiver. Or do you think internally it is, oh my God, we traded A.J. Brown and this guy can't lay off the donuts?
You know what I think will be the line of demarcation of how worried they really are? Is if they sign another wide receiver. Yeah. Because, I mean, they might not be worried about it. I mean, they might just say, okay, you know what? You got a couple pounds to shed. This is your workout plan. This is your meal plan. You got to stick to it. You know, we have total confidence that it's just a few pounds that he needs to shed that's going to be easy for him to shed as a 22-year-old. They may be thinking that. On the other hand, I'm going to lean more toward they're probably really nervous about it. But how nervous can they really be if now on June 2nd they still haven't signed a veteran wide receiver? So I think if they do that, that will be the almost red flag of like, oh, shoot, we need to find a legitimate backup plan because we don't know if our first-round pick is going to be able to be in good enough shape to play week 1.
Ian, you buying that? Do you think they're worried or do you think that they're fine?
I do think they're probably a little bit worried, but I think the real worry will come in training camp. If it gets to camp and they haven't seen any improvement, I think they'll start to worry.
Here's what I want to know more of, and nobody will tell you the truth on this, so it's almost like it's a rhetorical question. What happened at Arkansas? So Sam Pittman at SEC Media Days said they had to get Treylon Burks in better shape. That's their thing is better shape, right? And I will say this about the Titans messing up the draft. Aaron Rodgers let the cat out of the bag, as did Jerry Jones, which, of course, if there are two people that are going to let the cat out of the bag, it's probably those two. But they both let the cat out of the bag. Aaron Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show the night of the draft, on that draft night spectacular that McAfee did, Aaron Rodgers said that they had 6 first-round wide receivers, and that's why they drafted, I believe, a defensive tackle and a linebacker in the first round. Because everybody's sitting there saying, wait a minute, you traded Davante Adams, and with the pick you got for Davante Adams, you didn't draft the wide receiver for Aaron? And so McAfee asked Aaron, and Aaron said, well, we had 6 wide receivers for the first round, and then they drafted Christian Watkins or whatever in the second round. And then Jerry's board had, I think, Burks as like the 16th best player in the draft, and the Titans took him at 18. So the Titans aren't the only team that viewed Treylon Burks in that spot. My guess is if Green Bay had the 18th pick and not the 28th pick, Green Bay probably would have drafted Treylon Burks. So it's not like the Titans are the only team that had an interest in Burks. But what I want to know is at Arkansas, when they told him he had to get in shape, did he get in shape? Like, what Sam Pittman, there's nothing he can do. If Treylon Burks is 257 pounds, Treylon Burks would play wide receiver at Arkansas. If Treylon Burks is 215 pounds, which is probably where he should be for the Titans, if he's 215 pounds, he would play wide receiver at Arkansas. They have no player on that team that's even close to it, so he plays no matter what. This is not, Alabama, where if you don't do it right, or Ohio State, Jamison Williams go to the bench. So I wonder, how good a shape did he get in at Arkansas? The way he played last year in the SEC, was that 235 pounds? Was that 225 pounds? Was he able to get through all the practices? Or was he just a straight gamer? Now, it doesn't really matter to me as far if I was coaching him. Because if I was coaching him, I'd say, well, if you could do that at 240 pounds at Arkansas, imagine what you could have done at 215 pounds at Arkansas. And then that's why I want you at 215 pounds. But if I'm the Titans, can he play at 235 pounds, 240 pounds, and still be effective for me? Again, this is with him outside the room. We're internally talking about this. Can he do that for me and be able to play against the Giants and be able to practice this year and not get hurt? And I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what happened at Arkansas, and I'm not sure they know the answer to that.
I mean, he had 1,100 yards in the 2021 season, 12 touchdowns. I understand that, in whatever condition he was probably in, he was going to start, but not all starts are created equal.
I'm worried about Mike Williams.
He was one of the best wide receivers in college football.
I'm worried about Mike Williams. That's what I'm worried about. See, you probably don't remember Mike Williams, but at USC in 2003.
He was thick.
But he wasn't that, at USC, I mean, he looked like the number one pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say 2003, he was every bit of, kind of like a little bit of Keyshawn Johnson to him, a little bit of, he looked like he was a freaking superstar. And Maurice Clarett sued the NFL in order to let him go to the draft early after his freshman year at Ohio State. And the original court agreed with Clarett. Well, when the original court agreed with Clarett, declared for the draft, because Mike Williams was balling out, and I think he was a sophomore at the time, Mike Williams declared for the draft. Then the NFL appealed it, and it got kicked down, and so they, canceled out the original allowing of that. So then Mike Williams tried to go back to college. The NCAA, ended up saying no. So Mike Williams had to take a year off. The Lions took him, I think, in the top 10, and after his year off, kind of like Jamar Chase, but he took the year off, and he went in the top 10. And I remember when he played here a couple years after that, he was fat. Mike Williams was fat. And I remember looking at him and thinking, that's the Mike Williams that caught all those touchdowns from Carson Palmer at USC? He looked like a tight end. I swear to you, he looked like he was a tight end who looked like he might have to be moved to tackle. He was so fat. And so that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Zion Williamson. I'm worried about not being able to control yourself even once you get there. And it's, again, I'm saying it's a red flag for me.
It's got to be a red flag for the Titans.
They won't talk about
Mike Vrabel can say all day long that it's, nothing to see here.
Well, if Albert Breer is saying it's a red flag for other teams, then it's telling us that it's, at least on some level or another, a red flag.
It's a concern.
Yes.
Yes.
And think about this, too. When all the draft gurus and everybody else, when they were ranking the wide receivers coming out of the draft, Treylon Burks was up there he was ahead of Olave. He was up there. I don't want to say he was with Drake London and those guys, because those guys were, I think, top 10, but he was like 12, 11. He was up there. And then he ran the 4.55 at the combine, and Olave ran like a 4.24. And Olave shot up, and Burks came down. And if you don't think that 4.55 40 did cost Burks probably $3 or $4 million, it totally did. So I think there's a concern there. 615-737-1025. We will get to your thoughts on this, I promise. 615-737-1025. I do, though, because you talked about going out and getting another wide receiver. I heard the midday show today talking about Antonio Brown. That is never going to happen.
Absolutely not.
But ESPN has an idea about what they think the Titans should do. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup rated #1 for reliability, Z Series mowers, and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, plus save up to $1,100 now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
2 locations to serve you, Columbia Kubota or Franklin Kubota. Visit them online at ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com.
When Smashville wants to rock. We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
The city famous for its music is about to be overwhelmed by the Symphony of Speed. June 24th through 26th, Nashville Superspeedway will host an exciting weekend of NASCAR racing and entertainment featuring the Ally 400 Cup Series race, the Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200. Tickets are going fast, so visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com or call 866-RACE-TIX and brace yourself for some full-throttle fun.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
The sounds.
Play ball. Drive out to right center. That's well hit. Going back, Mastrobuoni makes the catch. Tagging from third down. Coming in, and he scores.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their road trip against the Durham Bulls.
Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 5:20 on your home for Sounds Baseball.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So I'm going to ask you this. You've been in his shoes. Now, again, you were not 225 pounds when you played. You did not get up to 240 pounds like it was reported that Burks did at Arkansas.
Wow.
How concerned are you, Chris, about his weight and his conditioning?
You know, Jared, I am concerned because the thing about it is when he first came to, OTAs and everybody expected him to do well, and when you come out there and you can't finish the first drill, I understand people don't want to panic, but you better believe you better be concerned because now we're in another practice. And he's consistently coming out of practice. I know that it's hot out there. I know about the pollen. I understand it. That's great. But when you're their number 1 draft pick, you gotta come in here out of shape. I understand he played at 225 at Arkansas. Then all of a sudden he blew up to 240. That just shows you that you're not working on your craft outside of football.
There you go. That was Chris Sanders yesterday on our show saying, hey, you're 240. That is concerning. So ESPN has an article about the 10 best fits for the top 10 remaining free agents. By the way, I don't know if you heard this today. The Midday Show was talking about, should the Titans go get Antonio Brown? And they had Dan Patrick on, and Dan Patrick was like, no.
Absolutely not.
Now, I'll say this. 3 years ago, I asked John Robinson incredibly indirectly because Antonio Brown was still technically under contract with the Steelers. So he couldn't answer a question about Antonio Brown. But he knew who I was talking about. And I asked him at the Combine if the Titans would have any interest in players like that. And he basically said in a long-winded way, no. And so I'm like, if you weren't interested in Antonio Brown 3 years ago, you're probably not interested in Antonio Brown now. But then again, he lied to me about trading A.J. Brown, so who knows?
But also, Antonio Brown.
I agree. Now, so ESPN has the best fits, and the best fit that they have for one wide receiver happens to be the Titans. Cole Beasley of the Buffalo Bills. Matt Bowen at ESPN writes, quote, Cole Beasley is nuanced and savvy with the route quickness to separate underneath and the awareness to find soft voids in zone coverage. And he can still uncover from the slot. Beasley caught 82 of 112 targets this past season in Buffalo. He's a chain mover on third down and an interior target who will work the dirty areas of the field. The Titans drafted Treylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown, and veteran Robert Woods is a good fit given the in-breaking cuts we see in the team's pass game. But Beasley would add a different element in 11 personnel sets where the Titans need a boost in the drop-back passing game on third down. He can shake coverage on crossers and option routes to give Ryan Tannehill a dependable second-level target when throwing from the pocket. Tennessee definitely needs some help here after ranking 27th in expected points added on third down dropbacks last season. What do we think of that? I'll go first. Hate it. I would not be okay with Cole Beasley. Because first of all, like that slot receiver you find anywhere. Find where Cole Beasley was drafted. I bet he was either an undrafted free agent or I bet he was like a 7th round guy or something like that. You drafted that guy this year. You drafted that guy out of UCLA. Undrafted. See, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You drafted that guy this year. You drafted him out of UCLA. He's on your team now. 2, I think Beasley's kind of an a-hole.
After everything that went down in COVID,
you don't have to, if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice.
Fine.
That's fine.
That's totally fine.
But he made himself out to be like a martyr. I mean, he made himself out to be like the Clay Travis of the NFL, where it was like every day he wanted to sit there and scream about how much he hated the vaccine. And so I don't want that.
And it doesn't make him a bad guy.
No, it does. No, it doesn't make him a bad guy.
Not wanting to get vaccinated doesn't make him a bad guy.
But to make yourself the story.
Making it about himself makes him a bad teammate.
I mean, there's a reason that Buffalo cut him. Because he was a productive receiver for them. And they kept Isaiah McKenzie, who when Beasley was out because he had COVID, McKenzie absolutely lit up the Patriots. And I wanted the Titans to sign Isaiah McKenzie, wide receiver out of Georgia. And he was kind of buried on Buffalo's depth chart, but he had just unbelievable speed, and he's a punt returner, and I wanted the Titans to sign him, and Buffalo re-signed him like the day before free agency. And there's a reason why they signed the guy who wasn't as productive as Beasley, and they didn't keep Cole Beasley. And I think some of that might be, like the locker room element of how Cole Beasley's going to come in. And right now, I'd say the Titans, if you had to just ask me without being in the locker room, if you had to ask me to grade what I think of the Titans' leadership and culture amongst the team, I'd give you a C-. Now, the coach, I think, makes up for a lot of that. But I think the Titans, I'm worried about the culture. I'm worried about the attitude.
Is it because of the veterans not at OTAs?
It's part of it. That's part of it. The quarterback's part of it. The wide receiver who demanded his way out of town is part of it. The fact that they acquiesced to that wide receiver doesn't help matters with how the team is going to view authority.
I have a hard time saying that the Titans acquiesced to A.J. Brown.
Did you see what A.J. Brown tweeted out today?
Yes, I did.
He's proud of himself. Do you know why he's proud of himself?
Because he got what he wanted.
Because he cried like a baby and he got what he wanted. That's the reason why I hate I'm for the AJ
Well, the Titans
trade.
had 2 options. Keep him and pay him and give it what he wanted,
No,
which I think is acquiescing.
They did not have that. They had the option to make him play at $4 million and then franchise tag him and then franchise tag him again.
Then what does that do for your culture?
No, it's
when
not
you
going to
have
make
a player
things
that's
better.
incredibly unhappy.
I mean, it goes one of 2 ways, right? It could have either been one or the other. It could have been good for the culture. AJ would have cried and the Titans would have held their ground. And a message would have been sent that, hey, you're not bigger than the organization. The same message was sent to the Green Bay quarterback last year. Now, the message this year that has been sent to the Green Bay quarterback is that you are bigger than the organization. And we'll see how that plays for that. But the Titans very easily could have done what San Francisco's doing now, which is you're not bigger than the organization. Sorry. And I mean, AJ probably would have cried and cried and cried. And honestly, every day probably would have been 4 hours of
He cries
AJ
about
talk.
everything.
AJ's such a
At that point, I think the
freaking
Titans
baby.
just didn't want to deal with him anymore, and I don't blame them.
I agree, but now what you've shown the team, in my opinion, what you've shown the team is if you cry, you get what you want. If you cry.
But the Titans didn't give him what he wanted. The Eagles did. And yes, the Titans had to trade him in order to do that. I understand
The
that.
Titans had to do something. It wasn't like it wasn't like he was a free agent and the Titans had the option to match, and they didn't. The Titans just said, yeah, let's work out a trade. And I do wonder if the Titans would go back and redo that. Would they do the same thing again? Because remember, Philadelphia had an earlier pick, and they took a defensive tackle out of Georgia with that earlier pick. And if the Titans had had that pick, they could have had Jahan Dodson, or they could have had probably another receiver instead of the big boy, Traylon Burks, right now, who can't make it through practice. So that would be, an interesting thing if they would tell you the truth, which they wouldn't. But again, I'm worried about the locker room. I'm worried about leaders. Who is the leader of this team?
I mean, who should it be, or who is it?
Who is it?
Tannehill?
Is it?
I honestly don't know. Is it Henry?
I don't know.
Is it Byard?
Like, when things don't go well this season, if they don't go well, who is the guy that's going to keep it all together?
Vrabel.
Again, a coach can only do so much.
But you're asking me who's going to be the person to keep it all together?
You don't have faith in a single player on this team to be able to do it. And you want to bring Cole, and I'm not saying because you didn't say you did or didn't, but I'm saying like you, ESPN. You want to bring Cole Beasley to that? No.
Well, they're not viewing it like that. They're viewing it like Cole Beasley is a free agent wide receiver. The Titans could use wide receiver depth. Boom. Okay, that works.
You can't ignore the off the field element, though.
But ESPN is.
Then why Then why, to the midday show's point, is Antonio Brown not on there?
Well, I'm not the midday show. I can't tell you that.
But no.
But Antonio Brown is
You're not
absolutely
ESPN's
positively.
You're not the ESPN article, because the ESPN article is the one that's leaving Antonio Brown off of this. I mean, I will say this.
Maybe they may view Antonio Brown much more egregious than anything Cole Beasley has done.
There is not a free agent wide receiver that can come in and do what the Titans need them to do. The best bet for the Titans, if you really want to improve at wide receiver, the best bet for the Titans would be to wait until the end of training camp, and there's going to be somebody who either isn't going to make a team's roster, but you think could fit your team, which is what Dennis Kelly was. He wasn't going to make the Eagles roster. The Titans wanted to get rid of Dorial Green-Beckham, so instead of cutting Dorial Green-Beckham, they traded him to the Eagles, and the Eagles were going to cut Dennis Kelly, so instead of cutting him, they got Dorial Green-Beckham, and they gave you Dennis Kelly. Robert Woods was a player like that in Buffalo. I believe it was the end of the preseason, they shipped him off to the Rams. Or no, I think that was Sammy Watkins that they did that to. Not Robert Woods. Robert Woods was a free agent. But I say all this because that's how you get better at receivers. It's somebody who's already on a team in the league right now, and so it has to be one of these teams that runs your offense. So it has to be Green Bay, and I don't think Green Bay is getting rid of any useful receivers because they don't have any.
San Francisco,
Atlanta, Minnesota, Cincinnati, all those teams. If at the end of the preseason they have a receiver that would be fifth on their team, or let's use the Rams as an example. They signed Allen Robinson. They have Cooper Kupp. And I think everybody thinks they're going to end up with Odell Beckham Jr. Well, let's say they sign Odell Beckham, and it's like, well, now we got an extra receiver, so we have to get rid of one of these receivers in order to make room. Then you can call the Rams and probably get one of those guys. And those guys are not a name that people probably know, but you have to know them because you have to have evaluated them so that instead of the Rams releasing this guy, you know that that guy can play. But this idea of going to the website of all the available free agents and saying, hey, this guy's available, sign him. Like, that's just not, it's not going to happen. Even though the Titans have the Julio money now because it's past June 1st, that's not going to happen. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. I did promise phones. So phones it will be. And there is one player on this ESPN list that I don't think the Titans have any chance of getting. And I don't mean chance. I mean, they could get the guy if they wanted him to. I don't think they want him. But I would be interested only because, honestly, the Titans have put themselves in this position. We'll get to that coming up next. Fanduel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app, and it's the official sports betting partner of the 75th NBA Finals. To celebrate 75 years of the NBA, we're giving all customers a $75 referral bonus. That's right, you'll give and get $75 in site credit when you invite friends to join America's #1 sportsbook. Here's how it works. Invite friends from the app, make sure they sign up with your referral link, and as soon as your friend makes any bet of at least $10, you'll both get a bonus. Offer ends June 2nd, so that would be today, when Game 1 of the NBA Finals tips off. Don't miss your chance to bet the finals with a bonus. By the way, I'm taking Golden State tonight, even though I think I'm rooting for the Celtics. If you're new to FanDuel, you can sign up with the promo code JGM to get free bets after your first bet. That's promo code JGM. Just head over to the FanDuel Sportsbook app and invite your friends today to get $75 in sportsbook credit. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Referred players must wager $10 within 28 days after signing up. Limit 10 referrals. Site credit is not withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly to partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 84 degrees. Isolated showers and thunderstorms will be possible, mainly east of I-65.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Introducing the first Nashville location of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Midtown. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ with fun, effective, and empowering group boxing circuit workouts. Become a founding member today. Stop by the brand new studio in Midtown at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donick.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Movie.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
He was drafted to be the right tackle. I'm just curious why it's become such like a poisonous idea that he would actually play right tackle, and such a huge compliment to him, so to speak, that he be this versatile guy. Like when you draft other guys to play positions and they play those positions, you don't say it's a bad thing. But with Dylan, it's a bad thing if he actually is tapped for a position, which makes it seem like he's simply not ready to play that position.
Yeah, you'd have to show me where I said it was a bad thing for him to play tackle for us, because I've never said that. I think Dylan is a guy that
pigeonhole would be a bad thing.
No, I'm saying I'm not going to say he's playing at one position or the other. There are a lot of positions on this offense open for competition right now. That's not a bad thing if Dylan goes and wins any job for us. I'm just excited to have him as a piece of the ingredients.
You know, I'm not one to sit here and always do the boyfriend-girlfriend thing, but this is kind of like they won't call Dylan Radins their girlfriend. It's like Dylan Radins.
They don't want to pigeonhole him, Jared.
They do not want to call Dylan Radins the girlfriend.
So versatile that he could play tackle, guard, wide receiver, or running back.
You know, Taylor Lewan walked into John Robinson's office when he took the job. The Titans held the number 1 overall pick in the 2016 draft. The top prospect was Laramie Tunsil, the tackle out of Ole Miss. And there was a lot of talk about the Titans using the number 1 pick on Laramie Tunsil. And Taylor Lewan said that he walked into John Robinson's office. And by the way, I don't think Lewan would do this now, but he walked into Robinson's office and was like, that's a high pick for a right tackle. Basically saying, I'm the left tackle, which, I mean, I couldn't believe that Taylor had the stones to do that. That is something.
No, I can believe that. I can believe that Taylor Lewan had the stones
I don't
to do
think
that.
he would do that today. I don't think he would walk in. I mean, he knows that Nicholas Petit-Ferrer is here to basically take his job, just like Malik Willis is here to take Tannehill's job. I don't think he's walking into John Robinson's office and saying something like that, but he did say that. But obviously, the Titans will tell you that Taylor Lewan is their left tackle, and they have no problem saying that. In the same ESPN article that we were referencing that said the Titans should go get Cole Beasley, which I'm against, the free agent that's on this list that I actually wouldn't mind is the 9th choice Eric Fisher. Now, Eric Fisher was the first overall pick. He played left tackle for the Chiefs for roughly a decade, and then he tore his Achilles, and he couldn't play in the Super Bowl, and Mahomes got lit up, and he signed last year with Indianapolis, but he had to come back from the Achilles injury, and I don't think he was all that effective for the Colts. I would sign Eric Fisher if he's willing to take, like, veteran minimum salary, $2 million. Yesterday, the Buccaneers signed a guy for $10 million, and it's a $2 million cap hit because the cap is fake. And so if you can do that, I would probably do it, because if you don't trust Radens, you got to get somebody in here that can play right tackle and has played tackle in the NFL, because not one guy on this roster right now has played tackle in the NFL other than Taylor Lewan. Lewan's played tackle. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer has not played tackle. Radens has not really played tackle. And Jamarco Jones was a backup guard in Seattle. So he hasn't really played tackle. So you don't have anybody on your roster that can play tackle. And if you get to training camp, and let's say somebody signs Eric Fisher, and this ESPN.com article says that the Steelers should sign him to compete with, I don't know, whoever the guys that are already there, that he should compete at tackle. And I think the Steelers' offensive line kind of sucks. But if you're to say, okay, he should go in and compete for the Steelers, why can't he go in and compete for the Titans? Now, they don't run the same offense, the Andy Reid offense, which is what Indianapolis runs. Neither does Pittsburgh, by the way. But again, he's a warm body that could play right tackle because he's played in the NFL and a year removed from the Achilles. And Achilles is different than an ACL. I mean, it takes time on the Achilles for you to actually feel normal. So
that's a tough injury.
I would not mind a 1-year deal close to the minimum, or give him how much ever money he wants and then phony baloney cap your way to $1 million. I don't care. But do something like that. Akeem Hicks, the defensive tackle the Bucs signed yesterday, 4 void years. It's a $10 million contract, and he's $2 million against the cap. It's fake. The cap's not real.
You can do whatever you want with it.
And that's what makes it not
putty.
real.
It's
not
putty.
real.
You can arrange it however you want.
Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025. Text line, phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Anthony the plumber texts in about the wide receivers we were discussing and says Antonio Brown, is way better than Cole Beasley.
It doesn't matter.
Since we're talking about talent and we're not talking about talent, we're talking character. What makes you think that we want Cole and not AB? Cole literally was trying to pay for non-vaccinated people's tickets, so a big no to about his drama, but kind of like Beasley and him basically okay with risking lives. I'm having a really hard time following this.
I'll just say it to you like this. I don't think the Titans want anything to do with Antonio Brown, and I don't think the Titans want anything to do with Cole Beasley.
I think that's fair.
I don't think they want anything to do with either of those guys.
I think that's fair.
And I will say this. John Robinson lied to me 2 months ago about trading A.J. Brown. But 3 years, this sounds so stupid, but it sounds so stupid to say, guy lied to me 2 months ago, but 3 years ago he told me so. But 3 years ago he basically told me that they weren't interested in Antonio Brown. And it's not like Antonio Brown has done anything positive since then.
No, he hasn't helped his reputation by any means the last 3 years.
No.
That's a circus that I don't think the Titans want to get into.
Also,
I don't think any team in the NFL wants to get into it.
You think Amy Adams-Strunk is going to be okay with bringing in a guy who basically threatened his accuser in a sexual assault? There's a level of things that you just can't do.
And if Tom Brady can't keep him under control.
Well, Brady's mad that Brady thinks Arians screwed that up. So Brady doesn't blame Brown. Brady blames Arians. But that's
kind of par for the course with
that's
Brady
one of the
and
ones
Bruce
where
Arians'
I have to kind
relationship.
of, I love Brady, but I can't. Antonio Brown has made his own bed. What else do we have?
Another texter texts in and says, no way on Eric Fisher. He's too old.
Again, what I just tell you, I'm not saying, let's go 6 years, $125 million. I'm saying, if he can do veteran minimum salary, or if he could do some kind of fake jam contract to come in here and maybe compete with one of these bodies to be a right tackle, I'd be okay with it. Here's my other thing with Eric Fisher. The guy's been an elite level left tackle in the NFL for about a decade. He's no longer elite, and he honestly, is at the back nine of his career, just like the texter said. Well, you got a bunch of young tackles in there. You got Radens, you got Petit Ferrer. You don't have any old tackles in there other than Lawan. Who do you think's the better role model here? The guy on the couch on the podcast, or the guy who's been to the Pro Bowl and has been, again, Andy Reid's trusted left tackle who was taken number 1 overall a handful of years ago?
I mean, he'd be a good role model.
I'd go with him.
And also, at 30 years old, he played 15 games. At 29 years old, he played 15 games. And he played 14, 16, 16, 16,
How many did he play last year?
15.
I mean, and he was coming off and he injured the Achilles in the AFC Championship game.
In 2019?
Yeah, so it's not like, or in 2020.
In 2020.
So it's not like he injured the Achilles in September and then tried to come back. I mean, it was a risk the Colts took. And I think the Colts are looking, Chris Ballard has said that they're basically going to promote their backup tackle to left tackle. Mm-hmm. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't think much of Ballard. But if it doesn't, it wouldn't surprise me if they reach back out to Fisher. 615-737-1025. TD, the TD Power Hour. Is TD concerned about Treylon Burks and the never-ending story about his conditioning, which is absolutely top secret? We'll ask him about that coming up next. Stillman & Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute. Disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay.
Everything is not okay.
Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3. The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 Eternity Band is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Stillman & Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome
Game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game. And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. It is the TD Power Hour. Teron Davenport back from Bristol, back from OTAs, is up in here in the studio. Hello, TD.
What's going on?
So I just want you to know I got called out yesterday for taking your side on the great Traylon Burks debate. So
You took my side.
I took your side. Like 2 weeks ago, I said I got a report from Paul talking about how out of shape Traylon Burks was. Then I had a report from you talking about, the ice packs and the dehydration or whatever. And I said, TD's my guy, so I got to go with TD's side. And so Paul called me out yesterday about that.
What did he say? This is interesting.
Paul said, I'm trying to think of exactly what he said. He said that we were making excuses for Traylon Burks because we took your side on that, and that he is not making any excuses.
Yeah, well, there's a such thing as having been through situations and not been through situations. Paul Kaharski, you tell me the last time he went through a football practice.
So I would understand that.
You tell me the last time he went through a training camp.
The one thing I would say, though, about that is he does vote on the Hall of Fame. So it's like,
so what's that mean?
But if he gets
Does that mean that he understands what it's like to go through a practice?
I know, but if he gets to pick who's in the Hall of Fame, that seems to be more important than judging training camp.
I will say this. Being able to relate, having been through the situation, I don't give a damn about Hall of Fame voting. Like, that has nothing to do with actually, okay, you know what? I could put myself in his shoes. I get how strenuous it is, and I didn't even do it at a pro level. I did it at a college level. Mm-hmm. But I could understand how strenuous it is, right?
Sure.
And this is the whole thing. I think Traylon Burks thing is being blown completely out of proportion.
Okay, so give me your thoughts on what you've seen and what you know, and I'm sure you've probably heard things too behind the scenes, because the Titans are treating every Traylon Burks question like it's G14 classified.
Yes. There's no mistaking what's going on now. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. He should be able to not miss any reps. He missed 2 yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not excusing that. What I am saying is there is something that is causing a setback. Whether we don't know what it is, and this is a problem I have with the Titans, because for this type of commentary, they need him to, okay, look, the guy is having an asthma situation. The guy is dealing with an allergy situation. The guy was adjusting to struggling to adjust to the heat. Something has to be made clear so that the default he's out of shape isn't, what's being gone with. Mm-hmm. But it's really important to understand, even though this isn't acceptable right now, it is not the end of the world. You could work yourself into shape or into being able to deal with this situation, whatever it is. These are all things that can be adjusted to. So when we're calling him a bust already, or when we're saying, cancel Christmas and all that, it's not the time to do that. Now, if we're in training camp, right, and this guy's still struggling, then you know what? All right, look, man, I'm not going to call him a bust, but look, man, you got to ramp it up. You're way behind. Right now, there's still time for that. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just reporting the facts. The fact of the matter is he had an ice pack on his neck. The fact of the matter is he had an inhaler.
Which is a secret inhaler. If you ask him about it, talk to Vrabel.
Yeah,
if you ask
and
Vrabel, talk to the trainer.
About it.
If you talk to the trainer, talk to the FBI, and then maybe you might get there in 10 years on an investigation as to why Traylon Burks had an inhaler.
So my thing is, okay, I don't think he's overweight. I don't think the weight is an issue. I don't think he's out of shape. Like, I'm not going to just go to those default things. I want to find out what's behind the inhaler. I want to find out what was the struggle to cause the ice pack to be on his neck. Those are the things that I want to find out, not, okay, default, he's out of shape, because it's just not that simple.
So where I look at this, one, I think the two Albert Breer reports, I thought we're not, again, what level of red flag? Probably not the biggest red flag. Probably the biggest red flag on June 2nd. Probably not a humongous red flag on October 13th. But I do think the idea that at times his weight pushed into the 240s at Arkansas, that would concern me a little bit, even though he did ball out at Arkansas.
You know who was 240 when they checked into rookie minicamp here back in 2019? Take a guess.
AJ was 240? He was 240 pounds? Oh, my goodness. I mean, I remember seeing AJ the first time. Maybe it was at OTAs or training camp. I can't remember. And I remember being like, he looks like a big guy.
I mean, he carried it different, but he was 240.
But I do wonder, like, if this is, I mean, some guys just have a harder time getting to a certain playing weight than other guys. I do wonder if this is hey, you know, the Titans are going to be on him, but he's going to be, you know, a great soldier, and he's going to follow the program, and he'll be fine, and they'll be fine, and everything else. I think the thing that spooks fans, and it certainly spooks me, is Isaiah Wilson. And that was the guy that everybody told us, yeah, you know, he works hard, he's just a little out of shape, but they'll get him in shape, and it would just got worse and worse and worse and worse with Wilson. And I think that scares a lot of fans, because whatever happened with Wilson, whether it was the Titans' fault or not, it looks like a poor reflection of their ability to judge the personality.
I tell you about Wilson. A week into camp, I told Buck, I said, this team isn't going to get a single contribution from him this year. Mm-hmm. A week into camp. You could tell because the dude was always on the ground. He couldn't even get into his three-point stance. The third practice, he got what's his name? What's the quarterback's name they drafted from Hawaii?
Cole McDonald.
Cole McDonald. He got him cut because he got his tail whooped by it was either Tuzar Skipper or the other dude from
Wyatt
BC.
Ray.
Wyatt Ray, one of those two, whooped his tail and caused McDonald to have to change the way that he threw the ball. He couldn't get a lot on it. It was an out-breaking route. Corner came up, picked it off. That day, McDonald was cut. I knew he wasn't going to be right. Burks, I think, is a different situation, though, because he's making it through practice. Granted, you know, there are times where you see him laboring. Didn't see that as much yesterday. He did. There were 2 reps he didn't take part in. But, I mean, he still went through the practice. Todd Downing said, as Mike Vrabel said, you know, each day that they go through, there's more that they like about him.
Question for you, TD, about the drill that he did sit out of. I found it interesting that it wasn't like he was pulled away to go do whatever it is he needed to do from that drill. He stayed on the field during that drill and just stood in line. Do you make anything of that? Do you make anything of the drill that he did sit out of versus the drills that he did complete?
That's classified information. I'm sorry. They don't release why anything that has to do with that. But it is a good point.
Yeah, that drill, it was the box
like the 4
and cone
corners.
drill. Yeah, and that's probably one of the more strenuous ones that they do. I think that was just player decision. Like, I think Rob Moore, Eric Frazier, they give those guys the liberty to, okay, not do it. If I was him, I would go through each and every drill. And even if you can't do it 100%, I would still go through it. Because for me, it would be all about stopping this conversation. It would be all about showing the coaching staff, hey, look, yeah, I had this setback. We're going to work through it. Even if I can't give 100, I'm going to give you everything I can. I do have a problem with him not taking part in all of it. But, again, it's a problem. I'm not saying the guy's a bust. I'm not saying it's over for him. And I think we need to pump the brakes on that severely. And I'm not making excuses because it's not acceptable. But I just think we have to look at it. Well, my perspective is, okay, this is a problem. What can you do to get better? Why is that the situation? Why are you in this situation?
Does it bother you that it does feel like he's had these issues in the past? Gentry had, I thought, a pretty good column at the Tennessean where he went back and found a quote from Sam Pittman at SEC Media Days last year that was, the biggest thing with Burks was we had to tell him to get in shape. And, I mean, Treylon Burks, you can argue, might have been the best receiver in college football last year, and outside of the kid from Pittsburgh. And
yeah, Jordan Addison. He's at USC now.
Yeah, follow the money. But I do wonder, like, if this is just something that's going to follow him for forever. And Charles Barkley, I think, is an example of a guy who, and you obviously know Barkley and his past with Moses Malone and the weight he lost, and that it always followed him. But you look at Barkley in the early 90s, the Dream Team, the MVP, the Phoenix Suns, like Barkley, I don't want to say was skinny, but for Barkley, he was in pretty great shape. And I wonder if Burks is just going to be one of those guys that has a hard time of doing this, and that's why the Titans early on are going to have to kind of put the guardrails up on him.
If it's something that is going to chase him throughout his career, it's a bad thing. Because the position he played, like, you can't have those issues at the position that you play. Receivers, DBs, you know, those are probably some of the most athletic people on the and in shape and best conditioned people. I mean, as a receiver, man, you run a go route, you have to learn, and that was one of the things that we learned early. As you're going back to the huddle, you learn how you're jogging back to the huddle. You're not walking. You're jogging back to the huddle. You're learning how to, all right, let me get my breath back. Because you don't want to be taken out after that go route, right? Because you want to come back because you never know. It could be a play that's called for you. You don't want to be out on that. I think if that's the issue and that's something that's going to carry, he's going to carry with, then it's a problem.
So do you remember Mike Williams, the USC wide receiver? I was talking to Caroline about this in the last hour. That's my biggest fear because Mike Williams at USC, I thought might be the number one pick in the draft. And then when the NFL won the court case and he wasn't able to enter into the 2003 draft and he had to wait till the 2005 draft or whatever it was.
He had that year off, right?
And and I mean, I remember he showed up here in like 2006. Because I think he spent 1 year with the Lions, and then they cut him after taking him in the top 10. And he showed up here in 2006 or 2007 or something. And I don't think he looked like a tight end. I think he looked like a tackle. Yeah. And I worry, and I'm not saying that I worry about that for Burks, but, I mean, Mike Williams just at USC looked the whole part. He looked, I mean, and the other thing, and this is almost 30 years apart. The Titans, you go through Floyd's draft picks over the years. You got 95 Eddie George, 96 Steve McNair, 97 Kenny Holmes, 98 was Kevin Dyson, 99 Javon Curse, 2000 Keith Bullock. All these guys contributed. And then there was 94 Henry Ford. Now, Henry Ford, I loved as a player because he's one of the biggest Titans I've ever seen. And he scored a touchdown against the Cowboys one time on Christmas Day. And it was really like that John Madden fat guy touchdown. You get the fat guy touchdown and then the spike and then the dance and everything else. And so one time I asked Floyd during a break, I was like, whatever happened to Henry Ford? Why did that not? And he goes, we couldn't keep him from meeting. He goes, we drafted him out of Arkansas to be a defensive end, and we couldn't stop him from eating. So we moved him to tackle. And I'm not saying that that's what, like, that they're going to move Burks to a different position, but it's like the last time the Titans took a guy out of Arkansas, there you go, 30 years ago. And I do worry about that being something that is tough that would follow you your entire career. Some dudes have to follow that the entire career.
I think the Arkansas thing is not really.
Oh, it's out in Neptune for sure.
That's the commonality. They're both
Sure.
out of University of Arkansas, but I don't think one has any bearing on the other. The bottom line is he's not performing up to par right now. He has to get to a point where he's performing up to par.
TD's with us for the TD Power Hour. Get your questions in at 615-737-1025 on the text line, and we'll hit those. ESPN, Matt Bowen dropped a interesting name that we've discussed. Cole Beasley. What does TD think about Matt Bowen saying the Titans should go after Cole Beasley? They do have some cap space money now available. We'll get TD's thoughts on that, and we will do that next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
They It was a close series, not close games. Are
The fifth receiver, ideally.
back.
There's certain officials that are bad about it.
Jonathan Hutton, Chad Withrow, and Paul Kowarski return to Nashville airwaves as Outkick 360 joins 94.9 The Fan.
Ready to roll Monday, June 13th.
They'll be part of a lineup featuring Dan Patrick and Colin Cowherd on a station built for you.
This is awesome.
The Fan. 94.9 The Fan launches June 13th.
Suffering from junk sleep? Mattress Firm can help. Get a king bed for a queen price and save up to $500 off during the best Memorial Day sale ever.
This segment of ESPN 1025 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent Train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Trevor Maddox joins us now, ESPN college football analyst. I feel worse about Jimbo and Saban now, more so Jimbo, than I did going into all this, because it's like he wanted to be Mr. Tough Guy for 5 minutes, but now is bringing it all back. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have had experience with both of those coaches, and I respect them both. But I think in this sort of mutual outburst, I think Nick Saban is the one that was relatively okay, and Jimbo Fisher is the one that's really not acquitted himself very well. I think Jimbo's the one that kind of is in a bad place, and Saban, when everybody goes back and looks at what he said and the context in which he said it, it's really hard to be mad at him. The only thing to be mad at Saban about was when he named names.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I can go from 0 to 60 way too fast.
Who knew electric vehicle owners were having so much fun?
20 or 30 years ago, I owned a gas sports car, and this car is much quicker.
It's a great, fun car to drive. When you put your foot on the accelerator, it just goes.
They're fun, they're fast, they're efficient.
Visit driveelectrictn.org to learn how you can start having fun driving an electric vehicle.
Sponsored by the East Tennessee Clean Fuels Coalition, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, the TD Power Hour. Teron Davenport is with us, ESPN. So ESPN.com, Matt Bowen has a list of the top 10 free agents that are still out there and teams with the perfect fit. He lists Cole Beasley as a fit for the Titans. I think there's probably two discussions to have about Beasley. The off-the-field Beasley that last year garnered a lot of headlines, and the on-the-field Beasley who last year caught 82 passes. And perhaps the fact that you can always, as last year proved for the Titans, you can always have more wide receivers. And what do you think about Matt Bowen suggesting the Titans sign Cole Beasley? The Midday Show was talking a lot today for some reason about Antonio Brown. There's a lot of talk about getting another receiver, needing another receiver. Are you buying it? Are you selling it? What do you think of that?
I'm not with the Antonio Brown thing. I don't think that's something to do. I do think Beasley would be a good option. And the reason being is he would be that slot guy. He would be that third down chain mover. But in all honesty, I don't think they need to go out and sign a receiver. And I think when you look at that 23% target share that's there, Austin Hooper, in my opinion, should garner a lot of that. He should get a lot of that because when you look at what he was able to do in the past, you look at when he was in Atlanta, you know, he worked that middle of the field. He worked the seam. He worked the post and did a lot of that stuff. I think that's where Tannehill is going to go. And just in watching practice, you saw it yesterday, Caroline, there's a lot of communication between Tannehill and Hooper after almost every play. And Tannehill targeted him frequently. And there were times where he had, before Josh Malone had the one-handed catch, the deep ball, a couple plays before that, Malone had his man beat. But Tannehill came off of it because he wanted to get the ball to Austin Hooper. So I think Austin Hooper is really going to be a guy that will make them not have to go out and get a receiver. And then also, look, you gotta see what you have here with Westbrook and Kenny. Yeah, you know, I think Kyle Phillips, I mean, it's no coincidence. It's no accident they drafted him. Mason Kinsey is still out there. Let those guys compete and see what happens. I think a guy like the Cole Beasleys of the world, they'll be available to you if you want to go that route. But I think they need to stick with what they have here. Get a true look at Reggie Robertson. Des Fitzpatrick, you know, he caught a pass yesterday, and I think it was A.J. Moore punched it out. You got to see, you know, where is that direction going to go? And I'm not saying trust him, but I'm saying, you know, look at these guys that you have on the roster. Cole Beasley, in my opinion, is going to be there.
So the thing that I look at with the Titans is, one, I think they drafted that guy in Kyle Phillips. Like, that's what they drafted Kyle Phillips to be. And we look back, Cole Beasley was undrafted. You look at those kind of slot receivers, it's either 7th round or 6th round or whatever round is where that guy was taken. The second thing for me, too, is with Mason Kinsey. Because A.J. Brown tweeted about how he thinks this is the year that Mason Kinsey breaks out. Chris Sanders, you know, loves Mason Kinsey like a child. Why did the Titans not give him an opportunity last year? I thought he looked pretty well pretty good in the preseason, like for that position. They had nobody to return punts last year. Chester Rogers, at times, I thought was going to give me a heart attack last season back there returning some of those punts. And every receiver on the team got hurt last year.
Yeah.
And they still never used Mason Kinsey. Like, I look at that, and that tells me, they probably don't like Mason Kinsey. So, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, roll Phillips out there, roll Kinsey out there, see if those two guys can play the slot. If not, then go out and get, you know, that Adam Humphries type player, which Beasley is. Go get that guy. But I almost feel like the Titans have their minds made up on Kinsey because of how they didn't use him last year.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, any receiver on the squad not named Nick Westbrook or Kenny should feel like, you know, he's on call. Not on call, but like
on notice.
On notice, yeah, on notice. Because those guys didn't play. And, you know, Des Fitzpatrick, when he was out there, I mean, nonchalant route running led to an interception. You can't have that, especially with him. That was the whole reason he got cut. No sense of urgency. And then you get out there and you run a route without a sense of urgency, and you don't clear it out the way you're supposed to, and Ryan Tannehill gets stuck looking stupid when it wasn't his fault. So you have those type of things. I still think they need to, specifically that Kinsey, Kyle Phillips matchup, I think they need to – that's it right there. Just look at that. You don't have to sign a Cole Beasley. Like I said, Cole Beasley will be there. I believe Cole Beasley will be available into training camp. You know what I mean? So if a week in, 2 weeks in, you're like, I don't know, but okay, bring him in there. You know what I mean? That's what you do with that. But to your point, Kyle Phillips, I see every bit of potential for him to give you a Mason Kinsey, or a Cole Beasley like contribution. I don't see why he could not do that. He was a very talented receiver, a prolific receiver at UCLA. So typically the skills that he showed transfer into the league.
Do you think that for that guy, for Kinsey, or not really Kinsey because he's had some experience in the league, for Kyle Phillips, that he'd be ready right now? You draft a guy in the first round, everybody assumes the guy's ready. Sometimes they aren't, but for the most part, everybody assumes, yep, Treylon Burks is ready. He'll come right in and play that position and be fine. With a fifth-round guy, I think there's probably a little hesitation that guy's ready or not. But the slot is such a specific position. If you drafted a kicker in the 5th round, I would say, yeah, you're probably ready for him to kick field goals in an NFL game. The slot is not a valued position like the outside receiver positions.
Yeah, it's not a valued position, but it's a difficult position. And, I mean, look, Treylon Burks isn't ready. So I'm not going to say Kyle Phillips is ready either. I think that is something that will come along, and that slot position is so much of a field position, a comfort position, an understanding position, on the same page as the quarterback position. So I would be surprised if week 1 he's the slot guy, but as the season wears on, I could see him working into that position.
How big of a deal? I said last week, I think there's a lot of bad going on right now with the Titans, in my opinion. I think trading A.J. Brown, even though I agreed with the move, I don't think that helps you become a better football team. I think the question marks on the offensive line, those bother me. The guys that are not there at OTAs, I get it. It's a different era than it used to be, but that bothers me. I think the fact that Robert Woods is out there and participating the way he's participating
That's a beautiful thing.
Is humongous news for the Titans. And you brought up Austin Hooper. I know this. Jared Goff just stuffed the mailbox throwing the ball to Robert Woods, and I expect Tannehill to do something similar here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't just Goff. I mean, Stafford was going to him like crazy too. And that is something that I think will make this receiving core a lot better, him being out there.
It's actually amazing. Tell me if you think this is nuts. If Robert Woods stays healthy last year, Cooper Kupp does not have the season that he had.
I don't know that he does. I don't think that's nuts. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he was working his way towards another set of 100 targets. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, that could very well be the case.
I mean, I think it was Stafford liked both guys, then that guy got hurt, so Stafford just threw more to the other guy. And why the Rams gave up on Woods to get Allen Robinson, a lot of the things they've done's worked, so I'll give him credit on that front. There is one big concern that I have, and it's the offensive line. And it's one guy in particular, and again, as the Titans continue their trend of G14 classification, I feel like that's where we're headed with Radens. What TD has seen, what he thinks, we'll get to that on the offensive line. How much of a concern is it? Plus, I'm down on the Titans. I'm down on them. What does TD think of that? We'll get to that. Plus your questions for TD, 615-737-1025. That's our phone number. More TD Power Hour on the other side. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys, and they have been my guys for years, taking great care of my home. And there is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with my friends at Hiller. Until the end of May, Hiller is offering 0 interest for 60 months on select new HVAC systems, 0 interest for 12 months on new tankless water heaters, and 0 interest for 12 months on whole home generators. If you know you need a system for your home, do it this month in June. That's right. These financing offers are available for a limited time to help you stay comfortable and cool all summer long and handle the payments later. That's right. Happy you'll be, or the service is free, and you can always visit happyhiller.com for all the details. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Bill's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Well, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest finance with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 eternity ban is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, Trying to find a needle in a haystack? Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try Ziprecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. Ziprecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Buy one, get one free admission. Beach Bend Park is your ticket to summer fun. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with BOGO admission at Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of 1. It's just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals. That's thegamenashville.com/deals.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
He was drafted to be the right tackle. I'm just curious why it's become such like a poisonous idea that he would actually play right tackle, and such a huge compliment to him, so to speak, that he be this versatile guy. Like when you draft other guys to play positions and they play those positions, you don't say it's a bad thing. But with Dylan, it's a bad thing if he actually is tapped for a position, which makes it seem like he's simply not ready to play that position.
Yeah, you'd have to show me where I said it was a bad thing for him to play tackle for us, because I've never said that. I think Dylan is a guy that...
pigeonhole would be a bad thing.
No, I'm saying I'm not going to say he's playing at one position or the other. There are a lot of positions on this offense open for competition right now. That's not a bad thing if Dylan goes and wins any job for us. I'm just excited to have him as a piece of the ingredients.
There you go. That was Todd Downing yesterday. TD Power Hour. Teron Davenport's with us. TD, I know you've been at OTAs. I know you've been writing at ESPN.com about the Titans. I think the Titans know, and I would include everybody in this, our level of frustration about figuring out what's going to happen with the offensive line, specifically Radens, and how the Titans, again, kind of like some of the Traylon Burke stuff, they just won't address it. They just won't tell you one way or the other what their plan is, or if they think they screwed up or whatever. How worried are you about Radens that they won't come out and say he's the right tackle? What do you make of Radens from year 1 to year 2? I know no pads, none of that kind of stuff at OTAs. And what do you make of the offensive line as a whole?
Well, I asked Mike Vrabel if they're getting to a point where they have an idea where he's going to work. And that's what Mike Vrabel said. He's working at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
He did leave it open that he may bounce inside, but right now he's working at right tackle. I think that's pretty much like the most information we've gotten in regards to what he's doing. So for me, I think the frustration level, it should be high, for fans. And this is something that goes back to what we said about Burks. If you're just a little more forthcoming with information, that would do wonders for these guys. Dylan Radens is just going in and working and doing whatever he has to do, right? They tell him to play left guard, he play left guard. They tell him to play right tackle, he play right tackle. He just, wherever you tell me to go, I'm going to go, coach. But at the same time, it's like, yo, protect me. You know what I mean? Sure. I can't come out and say, you don't want me. Protect me. Let him know, look, man, he's going to be the right tackle. And I think that's really what the problem is. I think that they have an idea where they want him. I think they have him where they want him. And for me, it goes back to when you look at some of the stuff with him, Strength was a big issue. That's why he got with Joe Staley before the draft and worked with him to get stronger. When you look at an interior offensive lineman, like that position is so predicated on strength. Because you're going against, look at Jeffrey Simmons, for example.
Sure.
The guy's lifting Ford F-150s for training. You know what I mean?
Like, I think you would back me up on this. Roger Saffold, and he had his faults as far as durability was concerned or pass blocking was concerned, but I'm not sure there was a stronger person on the team than Roger Saffold.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. And that's why it used to be so much fun watching him and Simmons go at it. Now, I just don't think that Radin should be a left guard. I think he's right there where he should be, and that's a tackle.
Do you think, because they didn't bring back Quessenberry, and they very easily could have. Mm-hmm. If they had tendered him, it would have been $2 million. As we know, the cap is phony baloney anyways, but, I mean, what is $2 million on a $200 million cap? That's 1%.
Well,
is that
Quessenberry didn't exactly have the best performance last year.
He didn't. And to me, he's a replacement level tackle. Like, that's what, and he replaced Lewan when he got hurt, and he replaced
he's your swing guy.
The right tackle when they had nobody to play right tackle. But wouldn't you, if you were the Titans, unless you totally felt comfortable with handing the keys to Radins at right tackle, wouldn't you have brought him back as an insurance policy anyway?
I think you may have answered your own question.
So then why the need to, as, again, trying to report what I'm allowed to report here, why would they not just commit to him as a tackle, and why would they tell us that they value his versatility in playing other positions?
I have no clue. Some things you just can't figure out, and that's one of them. And I've tried, but there's just it's a closed door. Like, you're not getting anywhere with it.
So I don't have to have the sources like you have to have. I don't have to go down to the locker room every day and talk to everybody, and I don't have to. So sometimes I think that allows me to kind of say, probably, I don't want to say like be more blunt, but maybe be like a little bit more rude as far as, but when it comes to the line and like the guys and where they're moving them around and stuff like that and who's playing where, and what bothers me about this whole situation is I don't feel like I can trust the Titans, because I ask them direct questions and they give me sometimes direct answers. We don't foresee trading A.J. Brown. Okay.
Well, that's not direct. We don't think, that's basically what they're saying. We don't think we'll trade him.
But I've always believed that, like, with the Titans, I almost have to feel like a detective every day, because I feel like I have to pick up the clues as to what they're dropping. And I guess what I was saying when I was talking about how, like, I'm not in there every day is I can completely speculate on something and not feel the ramifications of them being like, I think that's bull crap that you said this or what. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I think it's really about the delivery and the way that things are said. I mean, we have different ways of approaching stuff. Like, I'm not going to say a guy sucks. You know what I mean?
Because that's why I said more rude.
There's a level of respect for what they did to get to that point. And it's different. I'll say, man, he could get a lot better. Mm-hmm. I'll say, you take Treylon Burks, for example, right? I'm not going to say he's out of shape. I'm going to say, hey, look, man, this guy has a lot to do to be able to be productive on the league level. Case in point, he has to be able to get in and out of his breaks better. Mm-hmm. Whether he's in shape or not, that has to happen. I don't care if he's making it through a full practice or not, that has to happen. It didn't happen yesterday, and that's why you saw Greg Maben, Mike Tyson the ball to the ground, because he didn't show anything at the top of the route. Maben was able to just get in his pedal, break on the ball, and punch it down. Those are things, right? So there's ways that you could approach it. Now, as far as
I was going to say, as far as the line's concerned, I'm trying to, like, pick up the clues as to what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And when they didn't bring Quessenberry back and they didn't sign some other guy to play right tackle, it probably told me that they view Radins as the right tackle.
Right. And then remember what Mike Vrabel said about Jamarco Jones.
I think they think he can start in the league.
I think that's what they think as well. That's my belief. Now, Eric Flowers is out there. You talk about, right, the Julio money became available. That's Eric someone that Flowers. You could – listen, I'm saying you talk about insurance.
Sure.
You talk about somebody, okay, Jamarco Jones, right? You're talking about him as the left guard, right?
They think Jamarco Jones. I'm convinced that when they scouted Jamarco Jones, they thought if we can draft this guy, he'll come in a couple of years and be a starter for us. And then Seattle drafted him and kept him on the bench. And this is like what the Patriots did with Rob Ninkovich, was they evaluated Ninkovich and thought he could play for them. And the Saints used him as a long snapper, and the Patriots like, no, we know how
he came in, and he was now. I'm just saying, I'm not. Eric Flowers could be a decent signing insurance wise. I'm not saying that you sign him and the line is fixed no way. But I'm saying you talk about players that could be acquired with the Julio Jones money. There's one of them.
What about Eric Fisher? I threw him out there as a possibility. I know he had a down year last year for the Colts, but he was coming off the Achilles. And Achilles, especially for a big guy, is a serious injury.
So you put him at right?
Yeah, I'd put him at right.
And you put Radens at left guard?
Probably. I think
I don't do that.
I think the Titans, again, I think that they totally believe in Jamarco Jones more than any of us.
Well, that's really what it is. And you talk about picking up the clues. I think that's a clue that Mike Vrabel inadvertently left when he spoke. Was at
Combine.
Combine.
Oh, he was all about Jamarco. I recruited him to Ohio State. And
even though it was the owners' meetings where he said, compete to start or something along those lines.
I do wonder, one thing that is gone in the NFL, as far as it feels like it's gone today. It used to be a big deal when I was a kid, which was like camp battles. Now it feels like everybody shows up to training camp and they have a spot and they just go through the motions. It's like a buddy of mine pitched in the major leagues, and he went to spring training one year and he was lights out. And they were like, yeah, but we're going to send you down to AAA anyways, just because they called him right up because they already knew what they wanted to do. And I think the NFL has turned into that, whereas back in the day, you remember, quarterbacks used to go to training camp and have battles as to who was going to be the starter. And I do wonder if the Titans are looking at a left guard battle between Aaron Brewer and Jamarco Jones, or if the Titans are just completely sold that Jamarco Jones will start for them this upcoming season.
Completely forgot about Aaron Brewer. He wasn't there yesterday, but he's another guy to put in the mix.
He needs to get there, by the way.
Listen, I hope it's a really big, serious reason why he wasn't there yesterday because you talk about guys who have a golden opportunity. He's one of them. And so sometimes you got to do a little bit extra to, what's the saying? To do what others, to be able to get someplace that others don't, you have to do what others won't. So that's it right there. But, I just don't think Dylan Radins is the answer at left guard. Aaron Brewer is interesting. He played well in spots. You look at the Ravens game 2020, week 10, had some really good blocks in that game. I just don't know at that size how he's going to measure up week in and week out against those big guys in the interior.
Yeah, they got to get him eating a little bit more. TD is with us right here for the TD Power Hour. Get your questions in for TD, 615-737-1025. We'll get TD's quick recap of what he saw at practice yesterday, who stood out, who didn't, and then we're right to your thoughts on the text line, 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company right here. Again, TD is with us. Let me tell all the fine folks out there about your Nashville best deal of the week, which is Beach Bend Amusement Park and Splash Lagoon Water Park. Buy a one-day pass for $35.99 and get one free at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly to partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of 84 degrees. Isolated showers and thunderstorms will be possible, mainly east of I-65.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Getting enough sides so you don't have to share? That's finger-licking good. Order the KFC Side Lovers Meal today and get 3 large KFC sides served with 8 pieces of tenders or fried chicken. Prices of participation may vary.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living. But I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and Fanduel Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the 75th NBA Finals. And to celebrate 75 years of the NBA, we're giving all customers a $75 referral bonus. That's right, you'll give and get $75 in site credit when you invite friends to join America's #1 sportsbook. So here's how it works. You invite your friends from the app, make sure they sign up with your referral link, and as soon as your friend makes any bet of at least $10, you'll both get a bonus. This offer ends on June 2nd when Game 1 of the NBA Finals tips off. So don't miss your chance to bet the finals with a bonus. I like the Celtics to take down Golden State in the NBA Finals, but you take it any way you want to take it. If you're new to FanDuel, you can also sign up with promo code ROB to get free bets after your first bet. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Just head over to the FanDuel Sportsbook app, invite your friends today to get your $75 sportsbook credit. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Preferred players must wager $10+ within 28 days after signing up. Limit 10 referrals. Site credit is not withdrawable and expires after 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company TD Power Hour. TD is with us. So before we get to your phone, 615-737-1025, what were your initial takeaways yesterday from the open OTA practice to the media?
Initial takeaways was the second-tier DBs they were aggressive.
Caroline brought up a bunch of names I had never heard of.
Yeah, Shyam Carter had a couple nice pass breakups. Chris Williamson, Chris Williamson, I believe. Yeah, he got torched, but he had a couple. He had a pass breakup. Greg Maben had one. I think it was, you're always going to see the defense a little bit ahead, like when you're just getting back, because it's just the way it is. Defense is more reactionary, and it just tends to be that way. But yeah, they look good. Other takeaways. Ryan Tannehill had a couple throws where he waited a bit on it. He was late on a pass. I think it was to Fitzpatrick on an out-breaking route. No, it was to Austin. It may have been to Austin Hooper. It was an out-breaking route, but he was off on another one to Hooper. And you talk about DBs around the ball. Monty Hooker had a couple nice pass breakups. So I think if anything to take away from it was the DBs definitely were very aggressive, and it extended to the linebackers as far as the mindset of punching the ball out. It seems like turnovers are going to be something that is going to be a focal point. Chance Campbell had one punched out. He punched one out. A.J. Moore punched one out. And there was one other one as well.
Theo Jackson had a nice day, too.
He had a decent day. He did get caught on, Austin Hooper had a he caught a pass. It was the one actually I was talking about where Tannehill came off of Josh Malone going deep, and he went to Austin Hooper. That was one where, you got to – and Blaine Bishop was actually – he was talking about it. You can't get caught with your eyes in the backfield. And he got caught with that, and Hooper was able to give him some at the top of the route, break it out, and make the catch. But Theo Jackson, he's going to continue to be someone to impress. He has a way of getting around the football.
What about Malik?
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't get to really see him throw the ball as much because of like the back and forth between, going to the left and the right. They're on two separate fields.
Sure, yeah.
But I did see him make one bad throw. But I think with him, the progress is getting in and out of the huddle, right, and taking the snap from under center. Didn't have any fumbles. Didn't have any, all right, bring it back. Let's do this again. None of that, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good sign.
All right, let's get to your phone. 615-737-1025. Text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Kenston texts in and says, hearing a lot of talk from people saying the Colts are better with Matt Ryan and he's upgraded by leaving Atlanta. How are they better, TD?
I don't know how the Colts are better with Matt Ryan, honestly. I think Matt Ryan is a solid quarterback, but, I mean, maybe from a turnover perspective, you don't get the hero ball that Carson Wentz played, but I think the Colts are a contender for the division, but this whole thing about them being, a top 5 team in the AFC and someone that I don't buy into that. So
Lou Riddick said a Super Bowl contender.
I heard it. So Kenston, I don't think they're that much better, to be honest with you. I don't think they're that much better than they were.
What do you buy in? Because you kind of know how this works a little bit. Zach Kiefer's been covering the Colts for, 10 years probably. I think that he gets, and I don't know this for a fact, but usually I think a lot of what he gets, because he does have some good insight, I think he gets it from Irsay, because I think Irsay does a lot of talking. And basically Irsay had made the decision, according to Zach Kiefer, Irsay had made the decision that Wentz was gone even before the Jacksonville game, and that it was the off-the-field stuff. Irsay felt like Wentz was encouraging other teammates to not get vaccinated, and that really bothered Irsay, and he didn't think he was a good leader, and everybody there thinks that Matt Ryan is absolutely just the bee's knees when it comes to leadership, and that they'll run the ball and play defense, and that all Matt will have to do is, as Chris Ballard kept saying, take the layups, and that they'll be okay. That does worry me from a Titans standpoint.
Well, I mean, they're in the honeymoon phase, right?
Oh, my God.
So it's early. I mean, there was a point in time where they said everything was going to be right with Carson Wentz, and we saw that worked out. This isn't the first time that Wentz has had leadership questions. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that came from, somebody within.
Another texter texts into the text line and says, what if Treylon Burks is dealing with COVID long haul?
That could be the case. But, I mean,
There's no evidence that would lead us to that, right?
Yeah. I mean, so let me not.
It's all speculation.
I'm not going to say that could be the case. That's I mean, you don't know. I'll put it that way. You don't know what's going on. And that's why I think it's so important to get off of the soap opera approach to it. And I know it's
TD,
it's
the wrong show for that.
And that's why I mentioned it on this show, because the soap opera approach isn't always, and I get, like, you got to fill time and stuff like that, but it just, you got to, even like, Jared, I want to see you at practice more. Come to practice more.
Oh, hey, look,
I want to see you at practice more. So then you could have a more, okay,
sure,
you're seeing him with your own eyes, and you can say, hey, look, all right, this is the case. Instead of, okay, well, so-and-so told me that. Come see it.
Last week when I saw him go into the facility, I thought he was going in. And I went to college where Rick Pitino coached basketball. And Rick Pitino, you're fat for Rick Pitino. I mean, you have like 1% body fat or else you're fat for Rick Pitino. And he would just send people to the treadmill. Like if you got in trouble, treadmill. If you're overweight, treadmill. And he'd send coaches to the treadmill. And when I saw Burks go in, what I thought was that he was going in to go run on the treadmill. And I was like, oh, are they putting him on the big boy program? And then I was like, no, you didn't know that, didn't this? I mean, I guess that's my way of saying that sometimes even when I'm there, I feel like I can't get the actual scoop of why. The one thing I will say, yes, I would say that the Burks thing, there is is the number one pick not making it through the prize, is that concerning?
It should be concerning.
I am a massive worrier. Like that is not playing for the crowd.
That's not good for your health.
It's
bad for your health.
It's also not shocking to anyone.
I am a massive worrier. I mean, and I worry, especially about things I care about, which unfortunately, I don't know if you heard me say that, I will never let my kids root for the Titans if I ever have any. And this is why. What else we got?
Viking Matt texted in and asked TD about D.D. Westbrook. Should the Titans go after D.D. Westbrook?
What the hell happened to D.D. Westbrook?
He had that bad knee injury a couple years ago, and it just went to crap. I don't think they should go after him because, again, it goes back to, okay, why go after him? You got Reggie Robertson. Give him see what you have. I wouldn't go after him because it's just taking reps from a young player that could be really good for you.
Another texter texts in and says, TD, right now, who would you say is the favorite for the AFC South?
I still think it's the Titans. I do. But there's a lot of question marks, right? Mm-hmm. You got the Traylon Burks situation. You got Derrick Henry. How is he going to be? But I'm basing it off of the defense and what that defense has been able to do. So, Tennessee.
Another texter texts in and says, how has Caleb Farley's injury development coming along?
Well, he's still with the yellow. He has the yellow jersey on, but you are seeing him, have change of direction. Pretty nice. They're working through some of the drills. You watch him, get into his pedal and accelerate to the ball. Everything looks good there. I will say he didn't take every rep in team period yesterday, so that is something to consider. But it's June. I think his progress has been good, and that's all we've heard from when the coaches have been asked about it.
Another texter asked, wide receivers have been getting paid so far this year. What's the next position group to get the big paycheck?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to remember who it was I spoke to. I don't remember, but they brought up safety, and I think that is. You look at Jesse Bates, he's about to get paid. There's a bunch of safeties that are about to get paid, and then you just look at the premium that's placed on that position as far as what you're asking them to do, right? How many times did they ask Kevin Byard to drop down and cover a tight end? Mm-hmm. It's play single high, and then also come down and blitz off the edge. So, yeah, I think it's safety.
TD, tell us about talking with TD this week.
It's, just getting into the Burks thing. I got deep into that. I talked about, the need to get away from the soap opera. I talked about just the view that I think we should approach it with. So that's on there. Chris Sanders came on, and we talked about a few different things.
He's worried.
Yeah, he's worried. He's worried, but he's cautious about it. You know what I mean? And it's beyond just you just have to listen. You can hear it. And then we just went through what we saw on Wednesday. So that's pretty much.
TD with us for the TD Power Hour, as always. Coming up next, speaking of Chris Sanders, he is worried about the Traylon Burks situation. He is worried about OTAs, but there's one reason why he's not worried about the Titans. We'll get to that coming up next. First, though, Caroline wants to tell you about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Now, if you haven't started with Caesars yet, then now is the perfect time because your first bet is risk-free up to $1,100. Just download the app and use the promo code RadioCZR. That's one word, RadioCZR, and then place your first bet. And if you win, then good for you. But if not, no worries. You'll get that stake back as a free bet. Now, if you need something to put that first bet on, look at the Oilers-Avs game tonight. I mean, the goal total on Tuesday night was 13. Over-under is currently set at 7. So I'm going to take the over at -125 odds on the Caesars Sportsbook app. I think that the goals will be flying tonight with 2 backup goalies in. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game yet again. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager return only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Upgrade your diamond studs this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, you can do it now at Genesis Diamonds. It's our best financing of the year. Not just on diamond studs, but rings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So those 2-carat studs, just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry also included in this spectacular offer. Only available until June 18th, and only at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic All-American Sports Bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. The leading receiver.
Awesome game set.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Jared versus Joe in 1 hour. So we will argue with Joe Rexroad, who I'm sure will have some hot takes. But, you know, have at it how you will. So I'm worried about the Titans. I think I've made that abundantly clear. I know you people are going to tell me it's June 2nd, Jared. Don't worry about the Titans. But the truth of the matter is that I worry about the Titans all the time. But I am very worried about the Titans. Caroline, last year, was I worried about the Titans when it came to winning the division?
No, you were very optimistic. We were talking Super Bowl this time last year.
I didn't think the Titans were going to win the Super Bowl, but I felt pretty strongly they were going to go ahead and win that division. I was not worried one iota about Indianapolis. They brought in Carson Wentz. I was not worried about Urban Meyer, even though some people will casually forget that they were. I was not. I celebrated when they hired him, and I surely wasn't worried about the Texans. I was worried about the Chiefs. I was worried about the Bills. I was worried about, I'm trying to think who else I was worried about. The Ravens. I was worried about those teams. I'm worried about the Titans, and I'm worried about so many things. And I'm worried about the fact that the number 1 pick, Treylon Burks, that, as TD said, even though it's not that big of a deal, he said it's unacceptable, the fact that he's out of shape. I'm worried about the veteran players that have chosen not to show up for voluntary workouts. I am worried about the offensive line, where it looks like you're going to have Dylan Radin starting at one position and Jamarco Jones, who was a backup in Seattle. Seattle, a team that hasn't gotten the offensive line right for years, that it looks like those two guys are going to be starting. I am worried about the kicker who can't kick from past 50 yards. I am worried about the Titans. I am worried about the fact that Indianapolis has an easier schedule. I am worried about the fact that they have sanity at quarterback. I am worried. I mean, legitimately worried. And I'm worried about the quarterback. And I'm worried about the sanity of the quarterback. And I'm worried about whether or not the quarterback is going to piece it together or whether or not he's going to crack under pressure. And so Chris Sanders was on our show yesterday, and he harbors a lot of the same worries. But at the end of the day, he's not as worried for one specific reason. Here's what Chris Sanders said.
How concerned are you about the state of the football team, Chris?
I know it's a little adverse, and I know things are going on with Burks, and Henry's not there, and a lot of your leaders out there. But I have faith in Mike Vrabel because he's been through adversity, he's been through all these things. So, I think before the season starts, he's going to have a meeting and make sure guys are committed. But if it keeps going like this and guys get mad and guys doing their own thing, it could blow up. But the thing that I believe in is Mike Vrabel is made for situations like that. So I think that the Tennessee Titans are going to be okay.
Okay. In Vrabel, he trusts. Do you feel the same way?
To a certain extent.
Ian, do you feel the same way?
I'd say sort of, yeah. I do kind of have faith in Vrabel that he does a pretty good job of keeping the team on the same page.
Okay, give me the extent.
Well, a couple weeks ago we were talking about the culture when it was the first day of OTAs and Derrick Henry wasn't there. We found out Derrick Henry was in Dallas. And you said you were really, really worried about the culture. And I said, I'm not as worried because of Mike Vrabel. Because Mike Vrabel is just that kind of coach, that he can get everyone onto the same boat. But also, so I think the culture standpoint, I think, is pretty secure with Vrabel at the head. But also, Mike Vrabel was the coach when Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions. There's really only so much that Mike Vrabel can do. So in terms of culture, then no, I'm really not worried about the culture because I do think that Mike Vrabel, whenever he is able to get on everyone's asses, he will. But there's only so much he can do. He's not out there playing quarterback. He's not the one repairing Derrick Henry's foot.
So are you worried or do you believe in Vrabel?
I believe in Vrabel, but I also don't think that Vrabel can carry you to the Super Bowl single-handedly.
Okay, so you are worried.
Yes, I'm worried.
And you don't, and your belief in Vrabel does not trump your worry. That's the question. Because for Chris Sanders,
no, it doesn't.
The belief in Vrabel trumps the worry.
No, my belief in Vrabel does not trump my worry because I think there are too many things, too many question marks that I have about this team that Vrabel just, there's only so much that Vrabel can do.
Ian, does the belief in Vrabel trump the worry?
That is a good question. I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to, it comes down to how good your players are a lot of the times, doesn't it? And who you have. And I think Vrabel does a good job of putting people in proper roles. But I think if there's just going to be too big of holes to fill in certain positions, he's not going to be able to do much about it.
No! Vrabel does not. This idea, here's the thing about coaching. This is what makes it so hard. Is that even if you're one of the best coaches, after a while, they'll tune you out. And the attitudes of the Titans players, these guys are now, they used to be a young team. I'm old enough to remember when Kevin Byard and Derrick Henry were in their second and third years. When Vrabel took over the job, Lawan was in his 4th year. Mariota was in his 3rd year. Henry and Byard, I believe, were, no, they were in their 2nd years. Lawan was in his 3rd year, and those guys were still young. Like the veterans when he got here were guys like Jarrell Casey and Delaney Walker and Logan Ryan, and all those guys are gone. And Jack Conklin was a young player, and so they were just young that when he stepped in. And now they're all older, they're all rich, they've all gotten paid, and I'm not saying they're tuning the coach out, but I think this offseason they're telling you that they think they know what to do. And I think Vrabel will motivate them, I guess, to a point. But I think they're getting to a point now where you have to have individual leadership to really grab the bull by the horns. And I'm not sure the Titans have that. And so you've got one of two options. either you cleanse yourself of the guys that think that they're entitled or think they have things their way. You either cleanse yourself of those guys.
Well, that's not happening this year.
It won't happen this year. It'll happen after this year. Or you really make a statement. I mean, I go back to when the Patriots, people forget about this, but the Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2001. The next year in 2002, and Vrabel was on these teams. In 2002, they were 7-9. No, excuse me, 9-7. And they didn't make the playoffs. And the next year, they were not the dynastic Patriots. Belichick was not the greatest coach of all time. At that point, he was Doug Peterson, a guy with one Super Bowl. And what he did was he cut Lawyer Malloy. Lawyer Malloy wouldn't take a pay cut, and he cut him. And the team could not believe it. And that's when Tom Jackson got on television and said they hate their coach. And they all swear that they didn't, and that galvanized the team. I'm sure there probably was a little bit of an attitude towards Belichick when he did it, but I also think it kind of put everybody in their place. And I thought the AJ trade was going to be the thing that would put everybody in their place, but instead, you've got Derrick Henry not showing up to OTAs. You've got the guy that you traded AJ for out of shape. I mean, I am worried. I am worried about the veteran leadership on this team. I am worried. In fact, Kevin Byard, and he was asked about kind of giving pointers to Treylon Burks. And this answer absolutely highlights everything that's bothering me right now about the Titans. This was Kevin Byard yesterday.
How much do you communicate with the guys on the other side? I'm kind of referring to Treylon, a rookie kind of coming in the league. Do you give him pointers? Do you try to talk him through some things? What's things like with him?
Yeah, I mean, being my first day back out here doing OTAs, practicing, actually getting some working with those guys. Haven't had a lot of communication with him just yet, but I think as the days go along and, as he's running routes and things like that, I may give him some pointers. Hey, if you do this a little bit, you might be able to get the DB to bite or get open. Same thing with Malik. Any type of knowledge that I have, I'm going to try to share with the guys. Same thing, especially with some of the younger DBs, just trying to make sure we're all communicating because at the end of the day, we're all working towards one goal.
Do you know what bothered me about that?
Haven't really gotten much time to talk to him yet.
I haven't really been here much. I haven't really had much time to talk to him. Neither is Derrick Henry. Neither is Jeffrey Simmons. Neither is Harold Landry. Neither is Bud Dupree. Neither of all these guys. And I'll tell you right now, these things matter. And the team's not doing the extra. And that's what Vrabel's brand is. Vrabel doing the extra. We're the edgers. We get the edge on everybody. We're doing the extra. I want to coach the guys who want to be here. And so I think the quarterback right now is a puddle. I think that his OTA performance, which I will admit I wasn't at yesterday, but it sounds like he wasn't very sharp.
Wasn't great.
I think he's a puddle. I think he's going to crack under the pressure. I don't think this team has veteran leadership that can stand up. I worry that they don't have leadership that can push other guys. I worry that this team is too comfortable. And I do think Vrabel's the right man for the job to work them out of that. But do I think he can do a whole team? I don't know.
Isn't that his job?
And I don't know if this team is hungry. I don't know if this team's hungry. I don't know if these guys have as bad of a taste about the Cincinnati game in their mouth as the fans do. I know Tannehill does. But I don't know about the other guys. Like, I am worried about it. And I just think there may be too much entitlement. There may be too much of, I know what to do. There may be too much of this right now for him to weed out. And he can't even weed it out right now because they're not there. So I'm worried. And I love Chris. And I think Vrabel's the best coach in the NFL. I wonder if this team doesn't have enough talent. I wonder if this team is held back at quarterback. And I wonder if its veteran, productive players are too entitled. I can't get over the fact that Harold Landry's not there. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Harold Landry gets paid. The unwritten rule of the code is you get paid, you show up. Harold Landry gets paid, he's not there. Bud Dupree's not there. Jeffrey Simmons, he's not there. Derrick Henry, and I understand he wants a new contract. He's not going to get one. He's not there. And I just don't know if Vrabel can work with the egos, because I think these guys think they won something last year. Like, I think these fans are furious about how the season ended last year. I think these guys think we're back-to-back champs.
But if you're mad about it,
ain't gonna work.
And I'm mad about it, and I think a lot of fans are mad about how the season ended. Don't you think the players are too?
I don't think so. You got to understand,
Why?
players don't take it as personally as fans do. They never have. And I've experienced that. I was with a team when I was in college. We were 14 and 18. We were terrible in basketball. And it did not bother me like it bothers some fans. I'm telling you, fans take it, and it didn't bother the players that much either. I'm telling you, fans take it a lot harder than the players. Now, some players take it like it's the end of the world. Michael Jordan told the story in The Last Dance about when the Scottie Pippen migraine game happened. They lost Game 7 to the Pistons, and he sat on the bus and he cried, and they got back to Chicago, and they were like, everybody stays here and we're working out. And the Titans aren't doing that. I don't think they took that loss that personally. I think everybody's counting their money. I think everybody thinks they accomplished something last year. I think this team is too, what's that buzzword? Entitled. And I don't know if Vrabel can overcome it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. That's the question. Do you think that the Titans are too entitled? And I will say, I think there is one thing that the Titans are missing. There's one thing, everybody's got to have it, and they probably don't. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Hot Rod Power Tour, presented by eBay Motors and driven by Continental Tire, is back in Nashville, June 14th. Register now at hotrodpowertour.us.
Dive into summer savings at Electronic Express. Get huge deals on summer essentials from favorite brands like Traeger grills, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Whirlpool, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make summer happen.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Again, I feel like people get worked up about the word rebuild as if it means that it's going to be this Moses through the desert level, stay.
And it might be.
It might be because you might not draft right. Like, that's the key. The key to this is drafting. The key is evaluation. The key is to look at your players and to sit there and say, you know what? This guy, there's, you know how I feel about Preds prospects. Mm-hmm. But I heard Joe on with the Midday Show, and they were talking about Luke Evangelista. I mean, if he's a freaking horse, then figure it out and keep him. If he's really a pony, but the prospect people think he's really, really good, sell him. That's how this works. But it's trusting the person doing the evaluating.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex. But it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters. So make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
It's on. It's happening.
Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Just kind of what more can you say about that in terms of the culture that you want to instill with your players so that it spreads from veterans to younger players so that they get it from day one?
Well, I think it starts with, it starts with your personality. I think that we're all extremely blessed to be in this position, to be in the National Football League. We want to be grateful for the opportunity because we don't want to be entitled. We want to try to remove entitlement from our organization and our program, the belief that you deserve something for doing nothing, and it starts there.
Mike, you spoke last week about getting entitlement out of the organization. Do you feel like there was entitlement in the organization?
No, I've said that to our team since I've been here, Jared. I just maybe said it for the first time, or you heard it for the first time on the radio. I've always said that. I've always tried to tell our guys that, we don't want to think that we deserve something by not having worked for it. So that's something that we've always said, and I hope that the players would echo that and that would come across in how we've operated since I've been here.
We're trying to get rid of entitlement in our organization. You got entitlement? No entitlement. Okay. So here's what I think of the Titans. And again, Chris Sanders says that he's not worried about all the problems surrounding the Titans because he trusts Mike Vrabel. And I think Vrabel's the best coach in the NFL. And the more I say it, the more I want to kick myself in the ass because I can't believe how much I get on Vrabel. And yet, I think he's a better coach than Sean McVay. But here's what the Titans don't have. And I'm convinced they don't have it. I don't think they have somebody that has the stones to stand up in front of that team and tell people things they don't want to hear. I think they got guys that go about their business. I think they have guys who are true pros. I think they have guys that, will communicate, hey, block your guy to the inside. I'll block this out to the outside, that kind of thing. But I don't think they'll have somebody who will walk in there and tell Treylon Burks, you are too fat. And I don't know if he is or if he isn't. But all the evidence points to it looks like he probably is. Like, do they have an older player that is going to get, and I mean this, you guys hear these guys talk just as much as I do. Do they have a player on this team who is going to go up to another player and say, hey, you're fat. You need to lose some weight. Hey, you're not doing your work. You need to do it. Do they have a guy that's going to do that? Vrabel will do that as a coach. But it's one thing to hear it from a coach. It's another thing to hear it from a teammate. And I just think these guys are too nice. I think they're too entitled. I think they're making too much money. And I think Derrick Henry goes about doing his business. I think Byard goes about doing his business. And again, I think they'll give pointers. But I don't know if they've got a leader on this team, an alpha, who will go up there and either ridicule a guy or shame a guy or be blunt with a guy or just tell it like it is. Every team needs a leader that is not afraid to tell everybody the truth. And I've seen places where people are afraid to tell the truth. And you can't win if you cannot win if you're built like that.
Well, first and foremost, what do you mean by they're making too much money?
Like, I think now everybody that's a veteran player on that team is making serious money. Like, Landry wasn't making money last year. He's making money now.
But that is also their contract in the football market.
No. What I mean, though, is
they can't handle how much money they're making.
When you've got a young and hungry team, you've got guys that are making, $4 million, $3 million, which is still a lot of money for money. But it's different than, guys signed for $84 million. Right. So, like, Byard's been paid, Henry's been paid, Tannehill's been paid, Lawan's been paid, Landry's been paid. Other than Jeffrey Simmons, for the most part, they've all been paid. And so, once you have that financial security for forever, that no longer is a motivation. And if you think that money is not a motivation for some of these, money is a humongous
motivation for everyone.
For everybody. I also laugh. Like, I truly laugh in this town. When we watch a guy like Corey Davis have a career year and a free agent year, and then we see Harold Landry have a career year and a free agent year, and not to bring the Predators into this, but then we see Philip Forsberg have a career year and a contract year.
But with Landry, you can make the argument like this is the first time he's really had a lot of support on the defensive line.
But to see all of that and to not just completely take it with a grain of salt gets me every time. But now everybody that you would say is a leader has been paid on this team. Like, and again, maybe they do this behind closed doors. They're a secretive organization that doesn't want anybody to know anything. And for the last 2 years, you haven't been able to walk inside the locker room. Do you think that Kevin Byard will go up to somebody and be like, you're too fat?
I think he would.
See, I don't. I think he's too nice.
I think he would. But
think
you
he's
asked
too
me
nice.
who is the leader on this team, and I struggled because it should be the quarterback. But I don't think Ryan Tannehill is the type of guy to do that, to go up to Traylon Burks and say, you need to lose weight. I'll do it with you.
Did I tell you about it? I know somebody who has been in that locker room over the last 2 years. And I asked him, I said, what kind of leader's Tannehill? And he said to me, you know, he's like a quiet, head down guy. You know, he's a really good guy. You know, everybody loves being around him. I said, what like kind of leader? He's like, well, you know, he's not a rah-rah guy. He's probably kind of like Carson Wentz. And I was like, oh,
well,
God,
he's a leader because he's in that position.
Yeah.
But is he a
not.
leader because he's actually a leader? Like, I look at Joe Burrow and I say, that's the leader of that Bengals team. I look at Patrick Mahomes, I say, that's the leader of that Chiefs team. I don't look at Ryan Tannehill and say, that is a leader that's going to bring this entire team around him. It's going to bring this locker room around him and get everyone ready to go.
Well,
I
I'll
don't
use
see
Dak
Ryan
Prescott.
Tannehill as that kind of person.
I'll use Dak Prescott as an example. I don't know if Dak has that in him. I don't know. I don't know if Dak has that in him to go up to, and I don't cover the Cowboys, but I don't know if he has it in him to be the guy. I mean, I just finished reading the Jordan Rules, the book in 1991 that was all about Jordan. And I mean, Jordan would ridicule these guys like there was no tomorrow. I mean, there was one story in 1991, Stacey King, who I think now is a broadcaster for the Bulls, but he was a first-round pick and he was a bust. And Stacey King walked into the locker room and he was holding a box. And Jordan goes, hope you brought a jump shot in that box. And then one time I think Stacey King had to play because Horace Grant got hurt. And Stacey King had 1 rebound over 3 games. And so the Bulls are in a group signing a bunch of autographs. And Jordan just starts talking aloud in front of the whole group. Imagine this big, big fat guy who's played 3 games and got 1 rebound. This big old fat guy. And Stacey King fired off and was like, you know, I hate you, Michael. Everybody hates you. You're the worst. You're this. And Jordan just goes, big and fat. I mean, this big old fat guy. And just ridiculed him like there was no tomorrow. And considering that we all saw those behind the scenes in The Last Dance.
It
Jordan
does not
those
surprise
guys,
me one bit.
I don't think the Titans have anybody like that. Now, they certainly don't have anybody the talent of Michael Jordan. But I don't think that they have anybody who...
But you don't need to be calling people out in the locker room and dancing around and saying fat, fat, fat guy. But you do need to have somebody on your team that's willing to do the things that aren't necessarily expected of them, but going above and beyond as a leader. Doing the things that aren't required, but doing the things that makes the team better.
And I'll tell you this right now. I don't know who that guy was in 2019 or if it existed in 2020 or I don't know. But I just don't feel it now. I feel like everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's... You know, I almost felt like the Lewan interaction, you know, where I asked Taylor Lewan a couple of uncomfortable questions that really weren't that big of a deal, and he spent 10 minutes complaining about it on his podcast. I think that's kind of a sign of entitlement and a sign of, you know, how dare you? Like, what have you accomplished in this league?
I don't know. Do you guys think that maybe that's more of just like a athlete generational thing? As it is now, like as far as this generation of athletes and players and kids, because they're all like younger, you know, pretty much in their 30s or in their 20s. And, you know, so some of us were already in our 30s. They're all younger than us. I mean, not you, Caroline. But so I just wonder if this is like a generational thing where they just don't call people out like that anymore.
I think there is something to that.
Like it's not just a Titans thing.
I do think it's gotten a little soft.
It's just in general, in all sports. I don't see Mahomes going around calling people that. You know? I mean, they might say, hey, come on, but he's not going to go around and start calling people out left and right. I don't see, you know, Brady maybe. He's a little bit old school.
You think Burrow would call somebody out? I think he would.
110%. I've seen it.
Yeah. I mean...
But he's also, I think he operates.
He's old school.
He operates, I feel like he has kind of like a Tom Brady brain that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to piss everyone in this room off because I want to win.
I think he's just got an old school approach. I mean, I remember before the Super Bowl, he had that thing that went viral, and I thought this was so silly that it went viral. But he answered some question, and he was like, yeah, like, don't work out, post it to Instagram, and then sit on your butt for 3 days. Keep working. And I'm like, that's common sense. And people are like, yeah, Joe Burrow shows that so maybe Ian's right. Maybe like the whole league's gone soft, and outside of Brady and Burrow, and it just happens to be that those guys win. Outside of that, there's not a lot of pushing one another.
But I do also wonder, what don't we see? Because you say Kevin Byard's too nice. Well, Kevin Byard might be too nice to the media at the podium.
True.
But once he gets into the locker room, is he getting on the entire defense and saying, you should have intercepted this ball, you dropped this ball, so on and so forth? Because, I mean, I do think there's a good bit of truth of, like, if I'm kind of an a-hole in the locker room, I'm going to put on a nice face for the media.
I don't disagree with that, but I just don't feel it. I just feel, again, I think the Titans need a guy like Charles Barkley. Like, I think they need a guy who will just say it and not care. Just that's what they need. A guy in the locker room that's one of the better players. They used to have that. Delaney Walker was a lot like that. And I know that because I would host these Q&As with Pepsi for Pepsi with Delaney Walker. And, I mean, the things he would say in those, I was like, like, I can't
on or
believe
off
he's
the
saying
record.
this. I can't believe he's saying this stuff. But that's how he went, and he didn't care. Let's get to your phones on this next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Also, in the super secret layer of what's going on with Treylon Burks, Charles Barkley, of all people, has a suggestion for another player that I think the Titans need to give to Treylon Burks. We'll get to that as well. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Feeds now, Sissons coming on from the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The hottest financing offer is back at Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing with nothing down on practically everything in the showroom. That $3,000 eternity ban is just $50 a month. Buy now, put nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. Available till June 18th only. Get that $6,000 designer ring and pay just $100 a month. We'll even finance the sales tax. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Tough jobs need tough equipment. For equipment that gets the job done right, elite certified service, and genuine Kubota parts, choose Coleman Tractor Company, Tennessee's largest full-line Kubota dealer. Get hay season done right with the Kubota M7 tractor. User-friendly controls, all-day comfort, powerful versatility. Lease the Kubota M7 for as low as $13,200 annually, now through June 13th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information. Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale.
That's right. Family Leisure is inviting you to come out and play with a new swimming pool, spa, or patio furniture set.
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed.
Installation in less than 10 days on average.
More than 100 spas in stock and ready for immediate delivery. Artesian, Strong, and LBI spas starting at only $29.99.
What about the patio furniture?
Family Leisure has hundreds of sets in stock and on sale. Hanneman, Woodard, Trabatone, and Loft, all ready for immediate delivery.
Family Leisure also has the Sabre infrared grill in stock and on sale at only $14.99, and the Bull Grill Islands at only $39.99.
And Family Leisure has the Diamond Point Play Gym at only $24.99 installed and ready for immediate delivery.
Pool tables, massage chairs, and theater seating all on sale and ready for immediate delivery.
Come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
Tonight.
Oh, Robert Williams on a beautiful lob pass. Curry getting it back with space. Cut it.
The NBA Finals gets underway as the Celtics take on the Warriors. Coverage begins at 7
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I feel like the more wisdom I have now, I just know, you got to eat right, try to eat right year round. My whole entire family tries to eat right now. I got kids too, so we try to feed them as good as possible. But just like I said, taking care of your body, doing all the rehab stuff, not just in the building, but outside the building as well. I'm always trying to take care of my body year round. That's just my mentality. I always stand in it, not pretty much let my mind get too far away from ball. I'm always locked in on ball. Even if I'm not in the building, watching film, I'm taking care of my body, doing all the little things.
That was Kevin Byard. He, I guess, changed his diet, lost some weight. Good for him. I promise phones in just 1 second. But as we have been discussing what's wrong with Treylon Burks, and it feels like all the signs are pointing to healthy habits, I do think, as I question whether or not the Titans have somebody in the room that will tell it like it is. This was Charles Barkley on the Dan Patrick Show, which, by the way, will be coming to 94.9 The Fan. This was Charles Barkley yesterday on the Dan Patrick Show. He was asked about Zion Williamson. And tell me right now that Kevin Byard, who yesterday bragged about his chef, tell me right now, you just tell me, do you think that this needs to be a discussion that Byard or somebody needs to have with Treylon Burks?
He should have hired, his parents should have said, yo, man, we're getting you a chef. We're getting you a chef. And you make a deal with the trainer and the workout people, say, hey, I'm going to give y'all X amount of money to make sure I work out even when I'm tired. But the first thing he should have done last year was got a private chef because, man, everybody likes to eat. But when you have this type of money at stake, I mean, think about it, Dan. If he gets in shape, they're going to give him $200 million. He's going to be like 22 years old. He's going to make another 200, 250, 300 million when he's like 30 years old. And, hey, I never try to play God on television. Yo, man, take that money. You get your butt in shape and take that money.
Do you think the Titans have a guy that would go up to Treylon Burks and say, hey, go hire a chef because the guy that you're replacing just signed for $100 million. $100 million. And that's a 4-year contract. So if AJ balls out, he'll probably get another $100 million. Do you think the Titans have anybody that could do that?
I mean, they have players that can do that.
I take that back. That would do
I don't mean to pull a Joe Rexrode.
That is such a Joe.
I know. They do have players.
I mean, can they? I mean, I guess they can.
I know. I'm already getting warmed up for Jared versus Joe at 5 o'clock.
I guess they can. No.
Yeah. No. Stop it. Yeah, I think they do.
Who?
I don't know. But I think they do. I think, how can you have a team, let's say 52 guys. I know it's more, but let's just say 52 guys. Looking at this guy who is clearly struggling with something. Let's go ahead and just assume he's out of shape. Let's go ahead and just assume that his body is not equipped to do what he needs to do. You don't think there's a single guy out of those 51, Treylon Burks included, that wouldn't say, dude, this is what you need to do?
Well, I would say that probably 40 of those guys, their opinions don't matter. So, if A.J. Moore goes up to Treylon Burks and is like, hey, you're too fat. A.J. Moore doesn't have the standing to be able to go up to him and say that. Who are those DBs you liked yesterday?
I have to look at my notes because I don't even know their names.
Those guys.
Chris Williamson, Shaheem Carter.
Shaheem Carter is not going up to Treylon Burks and be like, hey, you're fat.
You guys think it'll take time? If Burks is here a little bit longer so the rest of the team gets more familiar with him as opposed to just coming out straight cold first meeting you and just going and giving you advice? Will it matter if you give them some time, get to know each other a little bit, and then maybe bring some advice into it halfway through the season if they feel like he's maybe struggling a little?
I will say this. In the story that Barkley told about how Moses Malone got him to lose weight, he went to Moses Malone. It wasn't like Moses Malone went to him and said, you're fat and lazy. He went to Moses Malone, and he asked Moses Malone, why am I not playing? And Moses Malone then said, you're fat and lazy.
But, like, is the coaching staff not telling him that?
It's
or
just
telling him that
it's
it's just not enough?
it's
I
different.
understand it's different. I understand it's different. But if Mike Vrabel goes out to him and says, you are too fat and too out of shape and you cannot play on this football team at that weight, you don't think that's enough of a kick in the butt to say, okay, no, I need to make some changes?
I think
it should be.
You hear things from coaches. You're used to being told what to do by coaches. It's just different when it's a player. It's different when it's a peer. That's just my take.
I understand. I agree with you that it's
phone
different.
lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Mike is up next on leadership. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, how you guys doing, Caroline and Jared?
Good. What you got?
Philly, man. All right. You are correct, Jared, in terms of the leadership. You've been here longer than me. I've only been here in Nashville for 3 years. But what I've seen from the Titans, I have not seen that type of leadership go out to a player and talk to get someone motivated. Now, in Philly, we had Ryan Dawkins, we had Hugh Douglas, we had T.O. We had guys that would get in other guys' faces and let them know what's going on. Moses did jump on Barkley because he and Barkley lived in the same condo in downtown Philly, and Moses used to see the Domino's delivery guy every night coming in to make those deliveries. So I think the Titans need to have someone talk to that guy, get in front of him, get to him now before he starts his career, and we'll see what happens during the season, because if the season starts to get sideways, we'll know that there's no leadership.
So I'll use Marcus as an example. Thank you for your call, Mike. When Mariota was the quarterback, and I love Mariota. I mean, and with his last game, I talked to him for a little bit in the locker room, just me and him, and I told him how much I appreciated him because he was such a good guy, and he was always accommodating even when times were tough. But Marcus didn't have the leadership thing in him. He didn't have it. You know, he did his business. He went about it the right way. He always had a smile on his face. But Marcus was not getting up in anybody's personal grill. Like, he was not holding anybody accountable. And I say this because that's what you have to have. You can't all be friends. You have to have the guy who doesn't care. Who makes it so abundantly clear that everything that you care about, wanting to be friends or trying to be cool or trying to be, that's not a priority to me. Winning is a priority to me.
But I do wonder how much of that exists that we just don't see. And I know you could probably see it come to fruition. You know, if they're doing it behind closed doors in the locker room, you could see that come to fruition, the kind of the fire lit under their butts in practice that I haven't seen. I mean, like Derrick Henry, for example. I don't think I've ever seen Derrick Henry being an outspoken leader.
Think about
but on
this.
the sidelines when they're down, I can see him getting on to people.
Think about this. And if you're waiting until the games, you're already too late. It's an everyday thing. But I really look at it more so. And I think to myself when it comes to the Titans about looking at this team and looking at, you know, what they're doing and who's there and who's not and the players at the OTAs. And remember when they lost the Cincinnati game and everybody took up for Tannehill? And I don't mean took up for Tannehill like, hey, you know, other than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was the one guy who was like, yeah, he's going to have to let it motivate him. Everybody else was, we love Tannehill. He's the best. You guys don't know. We were so bad before Tannehill. Thank God we have Tannehill. Tannehill this, Tannehill. It wasn't until March when Vrabel said that game was unacceptable. Nobody would, only Derrick Henry was like, yeah, he should let it fuel him. Everybody else was Kevin Byard. You don't know how sad he was after that game. I don't care. And you shouldn't care either. That's your team. That was your chance to win the Super Bowl. He should be sad. It should hurt. And so I go back to that. Like, everything with them is rainbows and lollipops and sugarcoating. And don't ask me that question. I mean, that's what it is. And I just don't know if there's a guy in there to sit there and say, nah, it's bullcrap. You know, the excuse making. I know Vrabel is, but again, he's a coach. Back to your phones. I see them loaded up there. I think, talked a little bit too much, so we're right to your phones next, I promise. Fanduel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. The NBA Finals are here tonight, Game 1, and now is your chance to score big on Fanduel Sportsbook. Throughout the Finals, Fanduel is giving new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Bet the money line, point spread, player props, and so much more, and you can combine your bets for an even bigger payday with a same-game parlay. I'm going to say right now, Game 1 winner, I'll go Golden State, and I don't think it'll be all that close either. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. If you haven't tried FanDuel, now is the perfect time to give it a shot, because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the action. Join today with the promo code JGM and turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets, win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 of the NBA Finals with FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Refund bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt, and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobis. Showers and storms ending going into tonight, and then back to sunshine to round out the end of the week. Mainly sunny and 84 degrees for your Friday. We'll stay in the low to middle 80s on Saturday as well and keep the sunshine continuing to begin the weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Buy one, get one free admission. Beach Bend Park is your ticket to summer fun. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with BOGO admission at Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of 1. It's just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals. That's thegamenashville.com/deals.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your emails so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
What do you think is important for you, Charlie, maybe through the month of June and then maybe after OTA's in, before training camp starts? What's maybe important where you can kind of hit the ground running?
I'll just say, stay on top of my plays, stay on top of, condition and all that, and, everything else to take out for itself.
I would say the second one might be more important than the first one, and the first one's pretty important. You know what else we totally ignored when it comes to Treylon Burks?
What?
Is the fact that one of the biggest knocks on him was, he didn't really run routes at Arkansas, so he's going to have to learn how to run routes in the NFL, and now he's taking himself out of drills. It's concerning. Let's go to your phones as promised. 615-737-1025. Jared versus Joe at the top of the hour. Adam in Portland. Who else is up next? Go ahead, Adam.
Ian's the only one that makes any sense today. Yeah, you, Caroline, Mike, y'all. It's just
all right. Let me hear it. Why?
It just sounds so bad. It's like this rookie who hasn't met anybody. You're expecting somebody to come in there and get in his face and start screaming at him. People who don't know him. Somebody who we've invested a bunch of money in. Let's go ahead and kill his morale, or he even has a chance to know somebody. And by the way, Cooper Kupp, who was the best wide receiver in the NFL, talks about Bobby Trees like he saved his life. Won't you give Bobby Trees a chance to talk to this guy? He's in the same room with him. It makes no sense. You got to give people a chance to build relationships.
I'll say this. I think Robert Woods might have the juice to be able to do this. And I appreciate your call. Now, when it comes to the guys that you really want to do that, you want it to be your star players. But every team does need a guy who is not – we were talking about this during the break. The only way to overcome when you don't when you don't have a team in which the best players hold the rest of the team accountable, the only way to win outside of that is if you have one or two guys. Football, you probably need a couple more. But if you have just a handful of guys that are so much better than everybody else, like the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Irvin back in the day, nobody was holding Michael Irvin accountable. But it didn't matter because he was freaking awesome. And they had that unbelievable offensive line, and they had Emmitt Smith, so they do their cocaine, and they drink their beers, and they go out there and they dominate on Sunday. But if you're not going to have that kind of team, and I think we're all realistic when it comes to the state of talent on the Tennessee Titans, when you look at that team, they don't have that. So you got to have the guys that hold them accountable. You do have to have veteran players that are solid veteran players, but that also help everybody else around them. I think Woods can do that. I think Woods' statement about needing Treylon Burks to compete with him was more so like, I need him to get on my level. So I need him to push me, a.k.a. I'm going to have to push him. But again, I think you need it to be a superstar. I think it's got to be, unless you just have a guy that's so good that when push comes to shove, it's like, you know what? We know at the end of the day, this one guy is going to carry our team. I guarantee you that those guys at Golden State, they hold everybody accountable. Like that Steph and Clay hold everybody accountable. Because when's the last time that you heard Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, that you heard them go out there and say they were unhappy with their minutes, or they were unhappy with their shots, or they were unhappy with their money, or they were unhappy with their role? I don't think I've heard that in 7 years of them being at the top of the NBA. I don't think I've heard them complain one time. Well, how can anybody else on that team complain when Steph Curry is not complaining? That's why you have to have that kind of guy. When Klay Thompson is willing to take that second place role because he knows it's for the good of the team, that I think affects everybody. And so that's why I think LeBron, sustainability, they don't win a lot. LeBron goes to Cleveland. They win a championship. Kyrie doesn't want to play with him anymore, so he bails out. And so the fact that the way LeBron wins is by being better than everybody else, at that point, you're done. Because Kyrie didn't want to play anymore. Now you don't have any good players, and now you lose.
And also, to Adam's point, the concern with Treylon Burks is not his relationship with the team. I don't think anyone's expecting Treylon Burks to come in here in his second week and be bestie pops with every single person wearing two-tone blue. That's not my concern with Treylon Burks. It's the fact that he's out of shape. And that has nothing to do with his relationships on the field, and it has everything to do with him.
And it's not just Burks. I know that we're talking about who's going to go up to Treylon Burks and tell Treylon Burks that he's fat. It's not that. It's everybody. Mm-hmm. It's everybody on that team. Who's going to be the one that goes up to Zach Cunningham and says, hey, dude, you just got fired off your last team. You got fired by the Houston Texans. How many more chances do you think you get in this league? Why don't you show up to practice? Who's that guy? What else we got in the text line?
One texter texts in and says all of the guys getting paid were paid last year, just outside of Harold Landry.
Henry was paid 2 years ago. Tannehill was paid 2 years ago. Dupree was paid last year.
But I mean, making money last year, not necessarily getting a contract last year. I think that's what the texter is insinuating.
So what's his point?
You said the players are making too much money and they're too entitled. The texter is pointing out, well, they were making money last year. The only person who wasn't was Harold Landry.
Yeah, but I think that Titans team, last year we were talking Super Bowl, and I think they were too. I think that this team, I think that they gelled together, and I will say this, I do think that Vrabel they're going to play the no respect card because they're not going to get any. Like the preseason rankings and stuff like that, you might see one guy that has the Titans in the playoffs, but a lot of people are not going to have the Titans in the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of things said about Tannehill, and Vrabel's going to play the no respect card with them, and it may work. It also may not work because they have Tannehill at quarterback. But I think that last year there was so much positivity. Like the positivity in the air surrounding Matt Ryan at Indianapolis does bother me.
Yeah.
When TD says, it's the honeymoon period, I'm like, I know. But I think I can see those guys every day walking to work with a big smile on their face
because the Colts
because
think they got better.
Matt Ryan. It's like, we've got an MVP at quarterback, and what they're going to ask Matt Ryan to do is not what, somebody else is going to ask Matt Ryan to do. They're going to ask Matt Ryan to hand the football off and take the gimme throws. And at the end of the game, he's a liability, but they're not going to ask him to do what Atlanta asked him to do, where they'd ask him to throw it 53 times a game. Indianapolis isn't going to do that. And so I think, from a leadership standpoint with young receivers, Pittman's young, Alec Pierce young, the tight end Dolchich young. I mean, those guys are young. I believe it's Dolchich that they have. I think it was either him or Jelani Woods they drafted.
I think it was Woods.
Woods. I mean, again, those guys are young. They're going to take their cues. Jonathan Taylor's young. They're going to take their cues from Matt Ryan. And that does bother me. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, Vrabel knows this is going to be a bad season. All the warning signs are there. I think he's hoping Tannehill is so bad that the new quarterback has to take over and the fans see that as some sort of success.
See, this is what I think. Well, I actually agree with the texter about Vrabel.
Wanting Tannehill to tank?
No, I think Vrabel's scared to death of this season.
I think that is a very fair point.
I think Vrabel is scared to death of this team right now. That I feel it. I hear it. I sense it. And Vrabel will be the last guy that gets blamed for this year. If this team does not play well, Robinson and Tannehill will get Tannehill first, Robinson second. Those guys will get the blame first. Vrabel will not get the blame. But I think he's scared to death of this season. Everybody talks about this, about when Malik will play or what Malik will do. If the Titans aren't good this year, say you're just awful. Say Tannehill just is Brad Johnson 2004 with the Buccaneers, where he starts off 0-4 and loses his job. I don't think the Titans are going to want to put Malik Willis in if they don't think Malik Willis is ready. Because what they're not going to do is ruin him.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you put him out there and you say, hey, man, we just want to see you play, but he gets his brains kicked in, that may ruin him for forever. And I think that's the first thing, even if the team's not good, that Vrabel's not going to let happen. So I would doubt that Vrabel would want that. I mean, I think Vrabel is scared to death of his team. I don't think Vrabel trusts his quarterback, but I do think that Vrabel is going to stick with the plan that they have right now and that they are going to try to win this year. 615-737-1025. Joe Rexroad is next for Jared versus Joe. Yesterday we had our Outkick 360 announcement, so we'll go with Jared versus Joe today, and that's next. Stillman and Company. I need to tell people about something right now, so let me just go ahead and do that. I'm sure it's something great, probably like Sounds Baseball, or something that's just absolutely fantastic here on the program. 615-Day. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 102.9 The Buzz, and the Nashville Predators will host 615-Day at Ford Ice Center in Antioch on Wednesday, June 15th, and it'll be benefiting the Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. This event will feature fun for the whole family while paying tribute to Nashville's annual 615 Day, an occasion that pairs Music City's area code with the date of June 15th. For more details and to bid on silent auction items, visit theGameNashville.com/615Day.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
This is going to be awesome. It's like, yes.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest gifts for dads and grads. Featuring the Titleist Vokey SM9 wedges. The SM9 grooves are cut to maximize the interaction of ball and face for lower flight and higher spin. And from Bushnell, the Tour V5 and Tour V5 Shift rangefinders inform you precisely how far you are from the pin. Whether you're a dad or grad, get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
If you have certain chronic conditions such as heart disease,
asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older,
52, 36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20.
Dive into summer savings at Electronic Express. Get huge deals on summer essentials from favorite brands like Traeger grills, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Whirlpool, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make summer happen.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. 5 o'clock, it's not Wednesday, but it feels like Wednesday because everybody had off on Monday anyways, which means it's time for a little Jared versus Joe. Does it feel like a Wednesday to you?
It does. This whole week has felt off.
So with that, we have Joe Rexroad in with us, and it's time, as always, for a little Jared versus Joe.
Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexroad. Now on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Jared versus Joe is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment. And, of course, our great friends at Nashville's hottest new gym, Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, Nashville Midtown, the gold standard in boxing fitness. Joseph, are you ready to debate?
I'm ready.
All right, Caroline, start us
All
off.
right, our guest of honor, Mr. Joseph R. Rexroad. Question for you first. What is a bigger concern, in your opinion? Dylan Radins on the offensive line or Traylon Burks?
Ooh, I like that one. Bigger concern. Well, I'm going to say Traylon Burks just because the Titans don't have anywhere else to turn. Like, they have to have production from Traylon Burks this year. There's not an alternative to
Traylon Burks is a starter or pseudo-starter. He's a heavy rotation, heavy snaps guy, heavy targets guy, big part of the offense. Has to happen. It's not optional. It has to happen. Dylan Radins would be obviously a really bad thing for John Robinson to have yet another high draft pick offensive tackle fizzle out and flop and not be a key contributor, not be a starter this year. But there's a scenario where Dylan Radins isn't the starter. It just turns out that he's just not up to it. You know, he's a journeyman, move around, swing guy. And, you know, Nicholas Petit-Frere is fine at right tackle. And either Brewer or Jamarco Jones is fine at left guard. And the Titans move forward and, okay, Dylan, you know, earn your paycheck, come to work every week. You know, they could still be fine. I don't see how the offense could be good this year if Traylon Burks isn't a pretty significant part of it. So that's why I'm choosing Burks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Burks simply from this fact alone. We can sit there and say that, well, with Austin Hooper and with Robert Woods, that'll be better than Anthony Ferkser and Julio Jones, and that's probably true. But the reality is Traylon Burks was brought in to replace A.J. Brown, and there's no way around that. And they knew the second that they did that, and they had all day to think about it because they worked out that deal with Philadelphia. They knew, as one SEC coach texted me and said, why are the Titans replacing A.J. with A.J.? Or I think he said, why did the Titans trade A.J. to draft A.J.? That they are replacing Traylon Burks. They're using Traylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown got hurt in the Texans' loss. A.J. Brown didn't play against the Jets, lost. Didn't play against the Patriots, lost. Didn't play against the Steelers, lost. The only game that he didn't play that they won was the Jacksonville game at home after Urban Meyer, you know, the story came out that he kicked the player. I mean, he really lost the locker room and completely lost the team and was a total dead man walking that game. And so that was kind of a weird one. The only game that A.J. Brown played at full capacity that the Titans lost was week 1 against Arizona. And the only reason that Tannehill threw a touchdown pass in the Cincinnati game was because A.J. Brown turned around and made a one-handed backhand grab on an underthrown ball in the corner of the end zone. So that's what Traylon Burks is replacing. And if Traylon Burks can't get in shape, the Titans can't wait this out. They play the Buffalo Bills week 2. So with Radins, they can always go get a replacement level tackle that they've been getting by with at right tackle for the last 2 years. They got by with it 2 years ago, won the division with Dennis Kelly, a replacement level player at right tackle, and with David Quessenberry, a replacement level player at left tackle. So as much as I know the GM cares about tackles, and as much as I care about tackles, and as much as that, to me, it's Traylon Burks, and it's simply because of the shoes that he's filling. And I mean, again, TD was talking about calm down the soap opera angle of it. I'm worried about Traylon Burks because of the hole that he's filling.
Okay, on to the next one. Jared, you go first for this one. You both say Traylon Burks is a bigger concern, in your opinion, over Dylan Radins in the offensive line. So, Jared, at what point will you, one, no longer be concerned, or will you start to really hit the panic button? At what point with Traylon Burks and his development are you really going to either get farther along with your concern or ease your concern? I think there's a lot of things at play here, but ultimately for me, I think it's going to be, and if this is a problem when this happens, it's too late. But to me, it's the Giants and Bills games. Because if he's not, you have to win the Giants game week 1 because you're playing the Buffalo freaking Bills week 2. And so you got the Giants at home, bad quarterback, new coach, new offensive system. You should win that game. And if Traylon Burks isn't out there against the Buffalo Bills, you're not beating the Buffalo Bills. Go look at what A.J. Brown did on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. Derrick Henry won them that game. A.J. was probably the number 2 reason why. And so that's what you're going to have. And you cannot fall behind this season. The AFC is too good. So if it gets into training camp and he's injured or he's sitting out of drills or he can't pass the conditioning test, then it's really going to be a problem. But it's all about the fact that he's got to be ready for the Giants game week 1. Caleb Farley didn't have to be ready for week 1. Dylan Radins didn't have to be ready for week 1. Isaiah Wilson didn't have to be ready for week 1. Christian Fulton didn't need to be ready for week 1 and wasn't. But, like, right now, there is no option. It's Nick Westbrook-Akina against the Buffalo Bills week 2 if it's not Traylon Burks. So the Giants game is where it all matters. But, honestly, the shape that he's in right now, it's been 3 weeks. He should be going through every drill.
even at the voluntary practices, he should be able to be in good enough shape to get through all the drills. It's been 3 weeks. And so I could argue now I'd be concerned, but really it's that Giants game. He's got to be ready to go, and he's got to be on the level at that first game.
Man, you need to be a little more efficient in your answers, please. I'll try to be brief because we actually have a time limitation. To me, you don't feel okay until you see him in real NFL games producing. So, I mean, I would agree that it has to be right away. But he can have a good camp. He can go through everything. He can look great in the preseason, however much they play him. Again, Mason Kinsey looked great in the preseason games. It's real action, real game planning on both sides, all that stuff. As soon as he's out there, really as one of the Titans' top 2 receivers, because that's what he should be, and Westbrook-Akina should be the receiver 3, then that's when you feel okay or you feel better about things. As far as the concern going up, it would just be if he's still limited in camp. I mean, he's got 6 weeks from now or so. Well, he's got more than that between now and camp starting. He's got almost 2 months. By the time that starts, whatever needs to happen, it has to happen. He can't miss any of that. He has to get every rep you could possibly get in camp. So if any limitations are still in place at that point, then the concern level goes up.
I'll say this to that point that Joe made about the preseason. I'll be worried if he plays in the preseason. He should not be playing in the preseason. He is the Titans' number 1 or number 2, Robert Woods, whatever. And those guys, they've got 2 scrimmages against Arizona and Tampa Bay. And when you scrimmage for 2 days and then you play a preseason game, you never play the starters. The starters get their work in the scrimmages. They don't play in those preseason games. If Burks plays in a preseason game, you're going to put Burks out there with Woodside and the backup offensive line and the backup running backs and the back. I mean, that's not saying that he's a backup, but that's saying that he needs this work to get out there, and that would work.
Well, but he will. Nah, but he will. He's going to need that work. There are exceptions to that rule. Elijah Molden is an exception to that rule. He projected as a starter all along, but he played tons in the preseason because Vrabel wanted him to get that work and get those reps, and Burks has got to get the scrimmage reps, the preseason game reps. Now, I think Vrabel traditionally errs on the side of caution, but I think he's going to be an exception, and I think he should be.
I mean, Molden got benched in that first game and then didn't come back till week 3. I mean, so it wasn't like he was a bona fide starter.
But he was a starter. I mean, he got benched because he performed poorly, and they got him reps because they wanted him to be as ready as possible to be a starter, and he still made those mistakes. So they can't. Burks has got to have every chance he can to play this game at the NFL level to be ready.
That was actually my next question for y'all. How much do you think is an appropriate preseason playing time for Treylon Burks?
0. You do the
dumb.
preseason. The preseason really is, over the last 6-7 years, has become a non-factor. I mean, I remember when Steve McNair would play a half of the third game, and it was like, I mean, the idea of playing that kind of quarterback, a half of preseason football. I think Michael Vick broke his leg, and that really changed everything for what preseason football has become. But now there's 3 preseason games, not 4. So the third game becomes the 4th game where nobody who matters plays. And and then they have scrimmages for 2 of them, and you never play anybody after the scrimmage because they go full intensity in the scrimmages. And so nobody plays there. So there's 2 things that I am really interested about the preseason. One is Burks, obviously, because he shouldn't play. If you feel comfortable that he's your bona fide starter against the New York Giants, he doesn't play in the preseason. If you feel like he's out of shape and you got to get him in shape, if you feel like you need to get him acclimated to the game, if you feel like he's not ready, then you play him. The other one that's going to be interesting
a rookie.
Is Radens. Okay. I mean, again, you don't play if you
don't think reps of reading coverage, of communicating with your quarterback, even if it's not Tannehill, of being out there and going against NFL quarterbacks, you don't think that that's valuable work? It's absolutely valuable
I believe
work,
in 2022,
he's going to need it.
In 2022 in the NFL, the coaches do not value the risk of that guy getting hurt, your number 1 receiver. They do not value that guy getting hurt. Like they would take the value of not risking him getting hurt over the value of him getting those 10 reps or whatever it would be. What is going to be interesting,
established veteran players who have proven that they can play in the NFL. I agree with you.
Oh, I don't even think it's about established.
This.
I don't think it's established veterans anymore. I think it's everybody. I mean, I think it's truly everybody who matters to your football team. Everything, especially when you scrimmage, and they're scrimmaging twice, which I can't remember the last time a team scrimmaged twice. The one that would be interesting to me is Radens, because let's say that you're not sure about him on the offensive line. So you want him to get reps in a preseason game, which I think we could all agree that Dylan Radens could use some reps in a preseason game. But if he's going to be your right tackle, don't you put him out there with the whole offensive line? So are you going to risk the whole offensive line and put him out there to get the reps? I don't know. All I know is this, is that in today's NFL, these coaches are so scared to death of losing any player of value in a preseason game that they don't play them at all.
Well, okay, A.J. Brown played in the 2019 preseason, so unless Vrabel is making a huge departure from there, there's another.
So did Mariota, and guess what? Mariota got hurt in the 2019 preseason. He tore some muscle. He tore some muscle in the back of his arm when he did that helicopter jumping into the end zone for a touchdown against the Patriots. And ever since then, Ryan Tannehill has not taken a preseason meaningful snap as starting quarterback of the Titans, and he's not going to take a preseason snap as starting quarterback of the Titans now. Maybe that's why they learned their lesson to not risk it.
Yeah, Burks is an exception. Got to give him some preseason action. You have to.
All right, the other side.
You can't expect him to be ready.
Jared versus Joe. How many reps is he going to get in the preseason?
Not that many, but it's some. A quarter. 2 series. 3 series.
Joe Rexroad, Jared versus Joe. More debates on the other side. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Races, concerts, and one big party. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix returns to Nashville August 5th through 7th. For 3 days, the streets of downtown Nashville will come alive with the sounds of race cars, music, and cheering fans. 3-day tickets are on sale starting as low as $129. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is a weekend full of entertainment that you don't want to miss, and tickets are going fast. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy yours today.
Family Leisure is having a come out and play sale. Hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. DIY pools start at only $16.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed in 7 to 10 days.
More than 100 spas in stock and ready for immediate delivery starting at only $29.99. Family Leisure also has the Sabre infrared grill in stock and on sale at only $14.99.
The Diamond Point Play Gym at only $24.99 installed, ready for immediate delivery.
Family Leisure is calling you to come out and play at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Signs First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try Ziprecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Educators, are you looking for a free opportunity to explore problem solving, career connections, and innovation? Take a journey with Computer Science Momentum Expedition, June 27th through the 29th at Nissan Stadium. Details for each day at tsin.org. Join the voyage.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Your
You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexrode. Now on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Jared versus Joe is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Nashville's hottest new gym, Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, Midtown, the gold standard in boxing and fitness. Joe Rexrode is with us. Round 2, Caroline Fenton. Where do we start?
Joe Rexrode, this is on you first. My question for you is, do the Titans have a culture problem?
Okay, did we not do this one already?
Did we do this one already?
I think we did this last week.
Okay, well then I will move on to another one.
I'll continue to say
Well, I'll change the question. Who is the biggest leader on this Titans team?
Ooh. The biggest leader on this Titans team.
And I'm not talking big like Traylon Burks big.
Whoa, man!
Hey, by the way, good question yesterday, Joe. You asked Byard, what has he seen from Traylon? He was like, he's big.
I don't think that's all he said. We don't want to take his quote out of context. But actually, it's funny you bring up Byard because I'm going to go with Byard. I think Byard is, I think the only argument against that, I think, is just, you want, you think of your quarterback who's very important. I also would say a guy who I think is really emerging is Jeff Simmons because it certainly helps if you are a great player and a leader. Derrick Henry has become more of a leader, too, in recent years. But I'm going to go Byard. I just think Byard sets the tone in the building. He sets the tone of professionalism. He sets the tone of how you want to conduct yourself on a daily basis. He is a great player. He is a player who, although talented, has overachieved relative to his talent level, and he has kind of led the way for guys like this is how you study film, this is how you find an edge, this is how you dig in and get the absolute most out of yourself. And he talked about it yesterday. He's talking about got that chef coming in and grilling up those grilled fish and veggies and no snacks at night and stuff like that. I mean, he finds everything you can do to be great, and so that's why I would go with Kevin Byard.
So I think it's twofold. I do think Byard's one of them. I think the other one is Ben Jones. And I'll use Ben Jones as an example here because every time they talk about leaders on the team, whether it's the players or the coaches, they always bring up Ben Jones. A big priority the day that John Robinson stepped foot as the general manager of the Titans was to go get Ben Jones. And honestly, I thought Ben Jones' career was over after last year. I thought he had reached the age where he had the money, and there probably wasn't going to be enough money out there for some team to bring him back because he's used to making $7 million, and there's no way someone's going to pay him $7 million at his age and give him a long-term deal. And yet every time I think Vrabel can't get enough of him. I think Robinson can't get enough of him. Every time that one of the players talks about, coming together, it's him. He's always at voluntary workouts. He's always, somebody that doesn't say much publicly, but I think he carries a big stick in there. I think Jones, and this is a total assumption, I think he might have more mean in him than Byard or Henry would. And that's where I look at Byard. I think Joe's right. Byard probably sets the standard for professionalism. But does Byard get in people's, does Byard push people? Does Byard hold people accountable? I don't know. But for some reason, Ben Jones, an average center who is probably well past his prime, you very easily could have said, it's time to move on to somebody younger, somebody more mobile, somebody less injured. And they didn't. They re-upped him, and I think they love him. And they didn't even draft somebody to be the long-term replacement for him. So, to me, I think Ben Jones very much is a part of this discussion.
Yeah, I think Ben Jones is worth mentioning in there, but I would not put him ahead of Byard or Simmons or Tannehill.
You think that locker room listens to Ryan Tannehill more than they listen to Ben Jones?
Well, I'll say it this way. When you talk about someone willing to get after somebody, I've seen them with my own two eyes. I think the two people who absolutely would be top two there would be Tannehill and Jeff Simmons. Not that it's frequent or anything like that, but I've seen it. And I think they both have the right demeanor to do that. I think Byard does too, but I think Byard is a little bit more of a put your arm around a guy and pull him aside type of leader than get after somebody in the moment if they do something wrong. I've seen Tannehill do it. Again, not a lot, but I've seen it. And Simmons is incredibly intense, and Simmons is not afraid to fight a teammate. It's actually one of a few reasons to miss Roger Saffold right now is that we don't get to see those battles in camp this year. But so when you ask me, do I think guys listen? I don't know. I don't know if they listen to him more than Ben Jones, but he is a quarterback. And for all of his performance issues last year, most notably in the playoff game, he has been an excellent leader with the Titans. There is absolutely no disputing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it bothers me somewhat when I hear you say that two of your top three leaders, one of them missed the beginning of the voluntary workout program because he had renovations on his house, and the other one hasn't bothered to show up. That is concerning.
Yeah, again, I mean, I've been kind of tracking this since we talked about it. You go around the league, man. The key primary guys for most teams, a lot of them for most teams, are missing OTAs. We're not going to be talking about OTAs in the fall.
How many quarterbacks didn't show up? I know Lamar didn't. I know Kyler didn't.
Well,
I know they want contracts.
Yeah, no, I mean, look. Oh, I agree with you that Tannehill should have been here for sure. I agree on Tannehill. I don't care much on Simmons or like Derrick Henry at all. Not at all.
Next one, a lot of the sports books favor the Indianapolis Colts over the Titans for the AFC South. Jared, you go first. Why do you think that is?
I think, first of all, there's an inherent bias towards Indianapolis. And I don't know if it came because of Peyton Manning, but I think sometimes people just assume Indianapolis is good. It's like people that don't love college football, don't know everything about it. I can't tell you who the best teams for next season are, but I'm going to guess Alabama's probably up there. Georgia's probably up there. You're just used to a team being good. Indianapolis was good for so long that people just assume that Indianapolis is going to be good, and because it's not a big market team like the Patriots, people don't really cover their day in and day out. I think most people around the country think that Tannehill sucks. Does he suck? I don't know. But do I think that most people around the country think that? Yes, I do. I think the other thing is, and this is one thing that people aren't making a big deal about, but Matt Ryan with an elite running game was either Rookie of the Year and made the Pro Bowl or the league MVP. Those are the only two times he's had an elite running game. He has an elite running game in Jonathan Taylor. I would say that it's a lot more because of that, or it's because that their schedule is easier than the Titans, markedly easier, where they don't get Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, or Joe Burrow this year, and you do. I would say it's that if I didn't see the same story every year surrounding the Colts, which is Frank Reich, great coach. Chris Ballard, great general manager. Colts, great team. Did they win? No. But for some reason, everybody just seems to think that those guys are so good and that team's always going to be good. So I think there's a little bit of an inherent bias when it comes to the Colts. The other things I think are real, and that's why I would predict the Colts to win the division right now. But that's why I think the sportsbooks have it as they do.
So you don't suppose it has something to do with the Titans trading away their one downfield threat? I mean, golly, I think maybe that has something to do with it, Jared. Are we missing this part? I mean, A.J. Brown's gone, and they've got in his place. And even if things have been going perfectly for Treylon Burks right now, anybody who's being realistic knows that it's just you're asking way too much of a rookie to just plug in and take over and make up that production. Then you have Derrick Henry coming off the injury. I do agree on Ryan Tannehill that Tannehill did not get his just due for the way he played in 19 and 20. And then last year, a lot of people were like, yeah, told you, that's Tannehill. And so now even more, you have people down on him. I think there's some truth to the Indy thing. I think there's definitely some truth in the people just have thought Reich's a genius and Ballard's a genius. I don't know how much it really ties to, like, the long-term. I mean, the long-term winning, like you're going back to Peyton Manning now. I don't know if I buy that. Indy has a good roster. I mean, they have a good team. They have really good running backs. They've got a lot of good players.
They're great. They just don't ever win anything. I mean, they're great. They don't ever win, but other than that, they're great.
Well, sure. Okay, 2 years in a row. For 2 years in a row, the Titans have won the division. The Colts have had good teams that have gotten in the playoffs in recent memory. But
the Colts haven't won the division since 2014.
No, I understand that. I'm saying they've had some good teams in that time that have made the playoffs. But I personally favor the Colts. I mean, I think the Colts should be the favorite. I think that they look better on paper right now than the Titans with their very questionable offensive line situation, losing A.J. Brown. I love the Titans' defense, but you also still have a big question at cornerback. Both teams have questions, but I think the Colts look like they are the favorite to me. Just as long as Matt Ryan is fine and is solid, I think that can be enough for them to win the division.
How many Falcons games with Matt Ryan did you watch last year, Joe?
I tried to watch very few. I did watch live when Matt Ryan, and I do go back to this, when Mariota, probably his last decent performance with the Titans back in 19, and I thought I was watching a wash-up QB. But the teams have been so bad, too. It's just, look, I don't think he's great. I don't think he's going to be great, but I don't think he has to be great.
So you're saying the last time you watched a Falcons game was 3 years ago?
No, but I mean, a full game?
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope so.
Okay.
I hope that's true.
So that's my point.
Probably not true.
That's my point. People don't watch the Titans, and people don't watch the Colts around the country. So what do they know of Tannehill? They know that Tannehill threw for 80 yards in those 2 playoff wins a couple years ago, and they know that Tannehill stunk it up last year in the playoffs, and that's what they know. And with Matt Ryan, like, he may have completely fallen off a cliff. I don't know, but I don't know because I don't watch the Falcons. And these people don't know that Reich's a dummy when he coaches games because they don't watch the Colts. It's like, people think Frank Reich's a great coach because they turned around the 2018 season. They had Andrew Luck. Like, that's why they turned around the season. And then when they lost after that, nobody blamed them because, it wasn't his fault Andrew Luck retired. But they just don't know. Now, I will say this. When you say that the sports books have the Colts favored over the Titans because the Titans traded away A.J. Brown, that is your claim, right, Joe?
Oh, I'm saying the fact that you didn't mention that is quite laughable.
Okay, here's why I didn't mention it. Do you know when the Colts passed the Titans in the sportsbook's eyes?
When they got Matt Ryan.
When they got Matt Ryan. It had nothing to do with AJ. Now, has the gap probably widened since AJ?
Probably.
Probably so. But it was the Matt Ryan moment. And I'm telling you, and again, this is not based in any truth of whether or not this is actually the case. But this is the public perception that Matt Ryan doesn't suck. Ryan Tannehill sucks. That is America's public perception of those quarterbacks, and I know it because all last year I saw Carson Wentz doesn't suck. Ryan Tannehill, maybe he sucks, maybe he doesn't, but people were far more confident about Carson Wentz last year this time than they were Ryan Tannehill. And now they're far less confident about Ryan Tannehill this year than they were this time last year.
Yeah, well, and look, we're talking strictly about odds here. The odds can also be tied to fan base involvement too, right?
Oh yeah, Dallas's odds are always way up when they shouldn't
be. And there is a difference in the size of these two fan bases.
Last one.
All right, I have a Jared versus Joe special hot seat for Joe Rexroad. This is a question specifically for Joe Rexroad. Jared, if you'd like to,
I can't answer.
If you'd like to chime in, you're more than welcome. Which I kind of have a good feeling you probably will. Joe, but I would like Joe's thoughts first. What exactly about Vanderbilt athletics is on the rise?
Oh my God. That was a take.
All right, what are we referring to?
We played a clip of you the other day when you were talking about Vanderbilt athletics. I turned on my TV. I woke up. I turned on my TV. I pulled up the stream on YouTube, and I just hear you go, Vanderbilt football's on the rise, and you look at their athletic program, and women's basketball certainly headed there. And, basketball, they need to win a little bit more. But other than that, I think they'll be – and I was like, did he just say 2-win Vandy football's on the rise? What? Vandy women's basketball? What? They hadn't won a game. What on the rise? Your thoughts?
Okay. I don't remember exactly saying like Vandy football's on the rise. I think that, I think Clark Lee has a chance to do well. Recruiting has gone well, but if you're asking, I'll answer your questions in all seriousness. First of all, when we've talked about this before, it does matter. They're investing in things that have gone decades without being touched, which is outrageous, which is how they fell so far behind us, even in sports where they shouldn't have fallen
So
behind.
are they making up for lost time, or are they truly investing in sports?
Well, they're truly investing in sports. There's $300 million that are being invested. They are actually doing these things. I absolutely think Shea Ralph, and look at her recruiting. Do we care about recruiting or not? Does recruiting matter? It's an own entire season in college football.
Recruiting and Preds prospects. Do them on your own time.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, then, if you don't want to be informed, don't be informed. But if you do want to be informed, recruiting is going incredibly well for that program, and I absolutely would buy that stock right now. Stackhouse in men's basketball, he's made some progress. Has to make more. We'll see. I mean, baseball's baseball.
No, baseball's stinking it up.
Well, yeah, they're stinking it up, and so they're a 2 seed in this tournament and still have a pretty reasonable chance to get to Omaha. This is like a bad year for baseball.
I heard Dave Neal today. I heard Dave Neal on the midday show was like, guys, I've been calling Vanderbilt baseball games for 25 years, and I just have not seen a Tim Corbin team look like this team. That, by the way, is probably the most knowledge I have about this Vandy baseball team. That and Corbin didn't do his press conference 2 weeks ago. But that's what I got.
Yes. So to quickly sum it up, yeah, I think there is positive momentum. I mean, you start at the top with a chancellor who actually wants sports to be good and has freedom to do that, an AD who's getting things done, money that's being raised, facilities that will be changed. The one program I absolutely would buy stock in is women's basketball. I mean, we can keep talking about that as we watch that unfold. And baseball, this is the youngest team in the SEC, second youngest, whatever it is. I mean, they're going to be right back next year, top 5 team in the country, number 2 recruiting class coming in.
So here's what I got to all
football. Always tough. Football's tough, but I do think that. I mean, look, this is the highest ranked recruiting class they've ever had in football. So yeah, there are positive things.
So the chancellor is all in, and the AD's all in, and according to Joe, they're getting things done. I'm gonna win Jared versus Joe. I'm calling my shot like Babe Ruth in the World Series. I'm gonna win it with one picture. Again, the chancellor's getting things done, right, Joe? And the AD's getting things done, right?
Okay.
What am I holding up, Caroline? If you're looking at the stream, you can see it right now.
That's Vanderbilt's new logo.
It's just a V. I just drew a V on a piece of paper. We're getting stuff done. On to the championship. Check the recruiting rankings. We're 73rd, up from 86th. We've spent all this money to enhance Vandy's facilities. Oh, yeah, the football stadium still sucks. Basketball gym still sucks. You cannot make an argument Vandy is on the rise without mentioning.
It's so dumb.
I mean, here's the thing that's crazy. Not only are you avoiding discussing things on the field, but also the money that you talk about has not yet been used to improve the field. Like, the field is the same. The court is the same. And the only thing that's different is
the V.
V. Like, that's it.
And
that's
it's not even
stupid
better.
V. Oh, my God.
It's not even better.
Caroline, give us a winner right there.
You're completely unhinged. I'm embarrassed for you again. I wasn't embarrassed for you, but I am again now.
You called yourself the winner, so you did get knocked some points for that. I hope you know.
Oh,
but
was that not a walk-off?
But it was worth it. I think it really comes down to one thing, because I think the AFC South, I think you both have a good bit of truth. Joe, to your point, I think that there is a good bit of it that's more about the Titans than it is about the Colts. But overall, it's just about the fact that everyone just kisses Indianapolis on the butt all the time. But I think it comes down to Treylon Burks' preseason time, because I hear you, Joe. He may need reps. He may need to get some time to knock the rust off. But why are we so concerned about Treylon Burks right now? Because if he can't play week 1, the Titans are effed. So if he plays in the preseason, pulls a hamstring, he's out for a couple of weeks, the Titans are effed. So Jared wins, because I don't think it's worth Treylon Burks getting hurt in the preseason to play him in the preseason.
I got one letter for you, Joe. V. And then I have a second letter for you. L. Your thoughts?
All right. Easy. I don't want to take away your win.
There you go.
For bloviating.
Yeah.
Excessive celebration.
Yeah, 15 yards. Enjoy that, Jared. You get like once a month. So
there you go, Joe Rexrow. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Joe.
Appreciate you, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Joe Rexrode joining us on the program. I mean, Vandy's on the rise. I mean, come on now. Look, Shay Ralph, the women's coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know Shay Ralph. I have no idea if she's a good coach. I know she came from Connecticut. So did Jamel Elliott, who went to Cincinnati and didn't win anything. But they do have assistant coaches that I like. So I'm, okay, roll. Let's go. But you got to win now. To say you're on the rise, I mean, you got to win some games.
And I like
football.
Clark Lee.
Oh, I love Clark Lee.
But to say that, Clark Lee's the coach, so, on the rise, no. I will believe Vandy football is on the rise when I see it.
The Stillman and Company, NBA Finals Game 1. I have a take, and it's hot, and I know this. I believe it, but you won't. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Invite you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Upgrade your diamond studs this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes, you can do it now at Genesis Diamonds. It's our best financing of the year. Not just on diamond studs, but rings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So those 2-carat studs, just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry also included in this spectacular offer. Only available until June 18th, and only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest gifts for dads and grads. Featuring the Callaway Rogue ST family. The Rogue ST woods are engineered with tungsten speed cartridge, while the irons feature an AI-designed flash face cup resulting in more ball speed. And from Bushnell, the Tour V5 and Tour V5 shift rangefinders show you precisely how far you are from the pin. Whether you're a dad or grad, get a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
We're in the most active season of the year right now, but if you've got joint pain, you may be on the sidelines. Hips, knees, back pain, shoulder pain. It sucks the fun out of living, but I've got the solution. QC Kinetics, helping people here in our listening area get the fun back. It's regenerative medicine. It's the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with the healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, then putting them into your aching joints. This is exciting. It's in the office. It's non-surgical. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. So stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a free in-office consultation now. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints and get the long-lasting relief from pain.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. He scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Robert Ory is on next hour. We asked the question, whose career would you want? Basketball career. Robert Ory's or yours?
I like my career. I know I didn't win a championship, and I like being myself. I always laugh when I'm not sure how I got to the point where it became an individual thing instead of a team thing. Unfortunately, a couple of people on television started this probably, and it actually been for the detriment of the NBA because nobody told Michael Jordan after 4 or 5 years, you got to get out of here. You're not going to win a championship. So things started getting crazy with LeBron. And he started listening to all the rumors about, man, you got to win to be successful. And then he went to Miami. And then it happened next with KD. So it started somewhere back then. But, hey, man, I'm pretty happy with my life. I wish I could have won a championship for these people here in Phoenix. But I'm good with my success in my career.
There you go, Charles Barkley, game 1 tonight of the finals, and I got a hot take. And that is, I'm picking Golden State to win tonight, and I'm picking Golden State in 6 to win the series. But I see so many similarities between the 2022 Celtics and the 1991 Chicago Bulls.
Now, I thought you were going to say that.
Now, that's the first Chicago Bulls team that won the championship, and people at that point thought that the Bulls could not win the championship. It was like Michael scores a bunch, but they're not good enough to win the championship, and Michael is not good enough to win the championship, and that's where all this started. Like, Barkley's like, I don't know when it became all about one guy. It became all about one guy winning championships because it's only really two things. We never talk about hockey players or baseball players. Like, we never talk about a good baseball player and say he didn't win the championship, so he's not a good baseball player. But we do say that about basketball players and quarterbacks. So to me, it's Jordan because it was always Larry and Magic win championships, but Michael win scoring titles. And it was quarterbacks and Elway, who won those 2 Super Bowls at the end of his career where Dan Marino didn't win any. I think that's where it kind of all became about the one guy has to win the championship. But here are my comparisons between the 91 Bulls and the 2022 Boston Celtics. The Bulls had one great player, Michael Jordan, who was a bona fide all-star, at the time considered probably the best player in the game, but certainly one of the best players in the game. Jason Tatum is that player for the Boston Celtics. The Bulls had a solid number 2 who was a one-time all-star. In fact, he made the all-star in 1990, didn't make it in 91, Scottie Pippen. The Celtics have Jaylen Brown, a very solid number 2, who made the all-star team last year, didn't make it this year. Then you got the guy who does all the dirty work, the rebounding, the defense, the Horace Grant. That's Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. Then you got the sage veteran, the man in the middle, Bill Cartwright, who had been a backup with the Knicks, but had played a while in the league, and I think had made an all-star team with the Knicks. And then he got traded, Charles Oakley, for Bill Cartwright, and Cartwright was kind of the old sage veteran of that team. Al Horford is that guy for the Celtics. The 91 Bulls in the playoffs, Jordan led the way with 31 points, Pippen 22, Grant 13, Cartwright 10. Tatum 27, so that's 4 less than Jordan. Brown 23, that's 1 more than Pippen. Smart 16, 3 more than Grant. Horford 12, 2 more than Cartwright. So it's very similar.
Kind of a creepy comparison.
The route that the Bulls went in 91, they beat the defending champion Detroit Pistons. The Celtics beat the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. They beat the most hated guy in the city of Boston, Kyrie Irving. The Bulls beat the most hated guy in Chicago, Isaiah Thomas. They had to beat a really good team with one really good player. That was Jimmy Butler in Miami. Jordan beat Barkley in the 76ers. And in order to win the championship, Jordan had to knock off the team and player of the 80s, Magic Johnson. They have to knock off Steph Curry. And I think we would agree the team of the last decade has been the Golden State Warriors.
You can make an argument that person would be LeBron, but...
So my argument would be that LeBron is Larry Bird in this equation, where Larry was old and had back problems, and so they didn't play Larry in the Celtics, but Larry's prime was past, and I think LeBron's prime is past.
I think so, too.
And Larry was still an okay player and had a couple more years left, but I think
I'm
the
just sick of
comparisons.
LeBron in general.
So, like these finals, I think it's so intriguing to me because if Golden State wins, then we'll be talking about everything that they did with Durant, because 2 of their 3 titles came with Durant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all kind of look at that with an asterisk, both for them and for Durant. But if they win this title, I think it validates everything that Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Steve Kerr have done. And I think it negates everything Kevin Durant's done. Like those 2 championships. It's like, whatever, Kevin.
I don't think it negates it, but it proves that they can do it without him.
They did it without him before, and then they do it without him again. I mean, I think that's pretty...
And they do it with him.
But if the Celtics... that just means you're replaceable. You know what I mean? Like the Chicago Bulls have been dog crap since the day Michael Jordan left.
I don't think I would call Kevin Durant replaceable.
I'm telling you.
Just because the Golden State Warriors won
Replaced
a championship before they had him.
And after, if they win this one.
If they win this one.
Well, that's why this one's
but
so
I'm
big.
still not going to call Kevin Durant replaceable.
You're replaceable.
I think that just means that
if you can get
the
somebody
combination
else,
of Steph and Clay is just that good.
Yeah, so you don't matter. You're replaceable. I mean, again,
no.
Bill Cartwright. Would you
This
say
is an isolated incident.
Bill Cartwright? The Bulls don't win in '91 without Bill Cartwright or John Paxson. They don't win. John Paxson hit all the shots in the fourth quarter of Game 5 against the Lakers. And I think he was 5 of 5. They don't win without Cartwright or Paxson. Guess what? They replaced him, and they won 3 more championships. Horace Grant was an all-star. Horace Grant, it was a great player. Think about this. Was he replaceable? They went out and got Dennis Rodman. You're not replacing Michael Jordan. That's my point. So if you can win without Durant, and then you get Durant and you win, and then you lose Durant and you win, like, you're replaceable. That's...
I just still don't think that's giving Kevin Durant enough credit. I hear you, and I understand that in this instance, if they do win this year, which I would put my money on Golden State.
I'm taking all the credit away from Durant for those 2 titles. If they win this one this year, then I'm taking all the credit away from Durant.
I don't think that's fair, because take away Durant in that year that they did win with him. Could they have won without him? I don't know.
Yes.
Well, are instances different, or are Clay and Steph just that good together?
Well, think about it like this. Well, that doesn't matter.
Because I think that Jordan and Pippen could have won another title without Dennis Rodman, because those 2 were just so good together. Doesn't mean anything that it doesn't take anything away from Dennis Rodman.
What did they do in 95?
One of the best defensive players in the league.
What did they do in 95 when they didn't have Horace Grant and they didn't have Dennis Rodman?
I don't know. I wasn't born.
They lost to Utah. They lost to Orlando. So they have to have that player. They have to have that player.
But that doesn't make the combination of Jordan and Pippen, and in this instance, Steph and Clay, any less dangerous.
No, Steph and Clay, that Golden State Warriors have replaced Kevin Durant with Andrew Wiggins and with Jordan Poole. Like the combination of those 2 guys, that is replacing Kevin Durant.
Andrew Wiggins doesn't get enough credit.
Andrew Wiggins is balling.
He's a baller.
But they turned Andrew Wiggins into a baller. Like Andrew Wiggins was okay. Remember, LeBron shipped him out of Cleveland as fast as he could.
That's also LeBron.
I
I'm
know.
not going to take any of LeBron's actions as Bible.
All right. So, again, we'll throw that out there. Your phone, 615-737-1025. But I want to pick this up on the other side as well, because I do think we could see a dynasty. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose. Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobis. Showers and storms ending going into tonight, and then back to sunshine to round out the end of the week. Mainly sunny and 84 degrees for your Friday. We'll stay in the low to middle 80s on Saturday as well and keep the sunshine continuing to begin the weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Dive into summer savings at Electronic Express. Get huge deals on summer essentials from favorite brands like Traeger grills, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Whirlpool, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Outdoor living, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make summer happen.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good.
Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Summer heat is on the way. Is your air conditioner ready? Costs are rising everywhere. Groceries, gas, utilities, you name it. Is your AC old, inefficient, and costing more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months no interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com.
Trade pros. Whether you specialize in service or new construction, Ferguson knows firsthand how much work goes into a long day on the job, which is why we're committed to offering the products and solutions to get every job done right. With over 1,000 locations, an unmatched selection of specialty products, tools, and supplies, our pro pickup and same or next day delivery, you can trust that doing business with Ferguson will be the easiest part of your hard day's work. Visit Ferguson.com to find a counter location near you.
You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Movie.
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, as we are talking about the NBA Finals and arguing. Hey, catch the NBA Finals on 102.5 The Game and 106.3 The Game as the Golden State Warriors take on the Boston Celtics. Tip-off for Game 1 is at 8, and your NBA Finals coverage is powered by Fanduel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. I'm sure we got some thoughts on our argument. Again, if Golden State, here's my 2 takes, and then you can knock them for however long you want or go to the phones. But I think the 91 Bulls are eerily, shockingly similar to the 2022 Celtics, sans the championship because it hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. And if Golden State, and this could be a dynasty for the Celtics, if Brown and Smart and those guys are like, hey, these are our roles, I'm fine being number 2, I'm fine being number 3, the Celtics with Tatum, they could reel some championships off. The other one is with Golden State, if they win the championship, all 4 titles, because the 2 with Durant kind of seemed kind of fake. Like, it almost felt manufactured. It was like you guys went to Game 7. You won the title in 15. You went to Game 7 in 16. Then you got the best player in the league who wasn't on your team, and so you walked to 2 championships. But if they win again without him, it's kind of like, man. To me, it validates 4 championships for Steph, 4 championships for Clay. Like those, like Scotty's 6, Clay's got 4. Steve Kerr's 4, Phil Jackson's got 11. Like, that's how I feel about Golden State.
I view this NBA Finals kind of in the same light that I looked at the Super Bowl this year. I looked at the Super Bowl like, if the Rams don't win this year, they're screwed. This is their time to win right now. The Bengals, on the other hand, I said, if the Bengals don't win, that's okay. Because that's a team that's constructed to win for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. As long as Joe Burrow is healthy and playing, that team is in good hands.
Dan Marino got to the Super Bowl a second year, never went back.
Okay, but you can look at the Bengals and say, they could go back. They could find success. We'll see this year. We'll see next year. But that's how I viewed it. Was if the Bengals don't win, that's okay because they'll probably be back, more so than the Rams. That's how I view this NBA Finals. If Golden State doesn't win this year, I think that's really it. I don't think you see Steph win another one. I don't think you see Clay win another one. I think that's really kind of the cap on the dynasty, and Golden State, it's going to be tough for them to get back there with the age of this team.
You know what's crazy?
Boston, on the other hand, if they don't win, that's okay. That's a team that's constructed to win with all of these young, talented guys.
There's no guarantees, though, in sports. The Orlando Magic with Shaq and Penny and those guys, they got to the finals. They lost. They didn't go back. The Thunder with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden got to the finals in 2012.
There's no guarantee, but you'd feel better about the Celtics getting back there than the Warriors.
I don't know. The Warriors keep going there. That's it for us. Elijah Campbell's up next with the 6. Stillman and Company. We'll see you.